I will say I like the Beatles a lot more than the Smashing Pumpkins, to be honest.
Well, that's.
I mean, if we're going to compare, yes.
Yeah, if I'm going to compare what's possibly one of the greatest bands ever in the eyes of the world and really cool.
Pumpkins.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Greg. I'm the lead singer for Lipstick.
I'm Steve. I'm the bassist from Same.
And welcome to the Lipstick Panel. Today on the Lipstick Panel, we are discussing what many consider to be one of the best thrash albums of all time. What some consider to be the greatest album of all time. But is it even the best Megadeth record? We're going to be talking about Megadeth's Rust in Peace today on the Lipstick Panel. Our guests today, we have Joseph DeGolyer and Kaleb Schweiss. We've got them from Ultima Final Fantasy, the Godzilla podcast, and For a Few Chickens More, a song of Schweiss and Fire. So these guys do lots of podcasting, but it's nice to get them to talk about metal and music. Welcome to the program, guys.
Wait, do you guys really have a podcast about chickens?
Yeah.
Aw, chicken chaser.
How dare you?
Chicken chaser makes you sound like a cock.
I don't remember that one. That's good.
Right?
He literally just got that drop 5 minutes ago. I didn't even tell him about Schweiss's other show. He just was ready.
No, I was just sitting there and I was like, oh, shoot, I've got this list of drops I need to add. Oh, yeah, a bunch of Chicken Chaser samples.
Nice.
Chicken chaser.
Chicken Chaser.
Love that game.
I couldn't find, nobody had gone through uploaded all the Pie Master ones to YouTube, so I wasn't able to use those ones, unfortunately.
Now, if you're wondering what the chicken show is, Schweiss,
Yeah, I do a Game of Thrones podcast, so that's what I cover, the show and the books. So it's for a few chickens more, because there's a great part in the show where the Hound wants chicken, and he kills to get chicken.
yes.
I mean, wouldn't we all?
I would if I were him.
The
I'd
only
hear-
person in town with an honest job is the Chicken Chaser?
Yes.
That's getting really esoteric there.
All right, so I'm going to steer this ship back on track a little bit.
Crash it straight into the iceberg. That's what I'm here to do.
So typically what we do on the show is we begin by going over our brief histories with the subject at hand. So we would talk about our history with Megadeth and our history with this album in particular. We had a guest who unfortunately wasn't able to make it, but sent us over a pre-recorded bit. So we're going to hear from Mr. Nick Jones, from our good friend Nick Jones from Pot of Thunder, and just get some of his feedback on Rust in Peace. And then we're going to go around the panel and talk about the album and our general thoughts.
Take it away, Nick.
Hello, Greg, and the other gentleman of the Lipstick panel.
Let's see how it is.
This is Nick from Pot of Thunder,
you too.
and I wanted to share some of my impressions, some of my thoughts, maybe a couple of quick stories having to do with Megadeth's masterpiece, Rust in Peace. So when this album came out, actually it was a couple years after that, because I was fairly young when it came out, and my little brother Andy was even younger. And he and I had gone to the record store, and we were each told we can each have one tape. We can get a cassette tape of whatever they had there. Not whatever we wanted, but whatever they had there. I'm sure most of you guys have gone through that in your lives, where it's like, okay, I've got a gift card or I've got money. I can get whatever I want, but it's actually whatever they have you're subject to. But anyway, to get back on track here, Andy came home with Rust in Peace, which is a brilliant, brutal, just a fantastic album. That's the Megadeth lineup that's my Megadeth lineup. I've only seen them live with this lineup a couple of times. And I came home with Don't Tread by Damn Yankees, which I'll defend up to a point.
It's not bad. I have that album
much anymore, but the title track was a big song for me at that point in time. So I'm like, okay, I'll get this.
No.
So Andy, in retrospect, Andy made the better choice. And Andy is my little brother, by the way. He's also on Pot of Thunder. I may have forgotten to say that. So there's that background there. So there's that. There's the fact that though I recognize and appreciate and really do like this album, and the fact that it is it's regarded as their highest achievement by quite a bit of people. It's their big classic album. For me, it was always kind of like Euthanasia, Countdown to Extinction. That was my era that I felt like when they got a little more accessible, that was, I dug it even more. So there's that too. So I'm not looking too great here. And the last story is first band I was ever in. I was like 12 years old. I was told that this guy in the neighborhood, he's my age, had this incredible. He was an incredible guitar player. We're gonna go over and jam on a song that he wrote. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And I hadn't been exposed to this album yet. He basically played Hangar 18, like that riff, that opening riff, and that was like what we were kind of playing around with. I'm like, oh, okay, he wrote this. Wow, that's cool. And yeah, it turned out he didn't. But so those are my three little tidbits about Rust in Peace. Hopefully that was somewhat entertaining. I'm trying to keep it short here and sweet, but thank you guys for having me on, and I hope to be back on there with you guys sometime soon. So enjoy the rest of your discussion, and I'm kind of glad I'm not there live because looking back on the last 3 minutes, I kind of have a lot to answer for. Some outrageous claims have been made, so I better duck out of here as soon as possible. Thanks.
Thank you,
so,
Mr. Nick Jones.
Real quick. Wrong and right. So you're wrong that this is not the best Megadeth album. That's just bullshit. You're right that it's not the most approachable Megadeth album. If I were to give someone a Megadeth album to listen to, it would probably be either Euthanasia or Countdown to Extinction. And then I would be like, this is the real Megadeth. If you can stomach those two, you got to move on to the next level, which is Rust in Peace.
Well, it's kind of like we've been doing a lot of Smashing Pumpkins albums for the podcast, and we're doing them in chronological order of release, and Gish is...
Anyone got a chair? I'm going to chuck it at a chicken chaser.
Greg's not allowed to use the G word.
Yeah, if I talk about Gish, Steve gets upset with me.
Yeah, we have a chair jar for him.
Yeah, but the thing with but the thing with Gish is that it's not very welcoming to newcomers. If you already like the band, you can probably appreciate it, but it's not a good one to start off with. And that can probably be said about Rust in Peace, too. It's probably not the easiest one to get into because this one is mainly about fast, heavy riffs and less about writing accessible songs that can immediately grab a listener.
Agreed. It's a little complex. It's not as hooky as some of their later stuff. I don't know. This one could be a good starter though if there's someone who's really into like guitar stuff.
If you're a metalhead, this is a good one to start with.
If you're a metalhead already and you're just like you're not sure about Megadeth, just because maybe you've only heard their radio singles, then maybe going into Hangar 18 might be something worthwhile for that kind of person.
Well, let's go around the panel and talk about our history with the band and just our overall thoughts on the album. So let's start with Joe and Kaleb, then we'll move to me, and then we'll close out with Steve, our headliner.
All right, so I got into Megadeth. I was really into Metallica. I've been into Metallica since I was like 12. And I didn't know about Megadeth because I didn't have the internet, guys. I didn't have the internet for years. Otherwise, this would have been a much faster
adoption
discovery, knowing that one guy kind of broke off and then made an awesome band. But I remember at one point I had a crush on this girl, and we would both write notes to each other, and they would be and at one point it was like band recommendations because she had overheard me talking about bands I liked, and one of those recommendations was Megadeth, and I checked them out back when, so this is pre-YouTube. I went to the library to get on the internet, and I listened to some of like the 30-second clips that Amazon would put up for CDs. And my only note for Megadeth was, it sounds kind of like Metallica, but not really. and so that was my first exposure.
And that was when she dumped you. You poser.
Oh, I never dated her, unfortunately. But there was a point maybe a few years down the road where I was at someone's house, and Symphony of Destruction came on the radio, and that riff was bitchin'. I found out it was Megadeth, the same band that I had dismissed for being like, it's like Metallica but not as good. I had dismissed that band before, and eventually I got the Greatest Hits album.
Yeah, and I remember for years...
and that's all I would listen to for years.
Yeah, you would tell me, like, they're good for Greatest Hits, and I'm like, Joe, no, dude. They're way beyond the Greatest Hits album.
And then Schweiss got me the other albums. He had me listen to them, and I got really into them about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Got really into Megadeth, and eventually just over the course of like a year bought all of their albums, and now have them pretty much memorized, and I'm obsessed with them almost to the same degree as I'm obsessed with Metallica. So they're now my second favorite band, which is unfortunate for Dave Mustaine because he would not like being second
to Metallica again.
Especially to them, yeah.
Especially to Metallica. But really, I love them. I love them more than every other band except for one.
Yeah.
So, whatever.
I mean, if Dave would be upset with you, that would not even compare to the reasons he'd be upset with me. Like, what? This guy's wearing makeup and heels and is generally friendly and has reasonable political opinions. What a dick.
He would be, I think, his acronym for glam rock?
For gay LA metal.
Gay LA metal.
Yeah.
Honestly, I see where he's coming from, but there is still some good stuff there.
I'll get into that when it's my turn. It's Caleb's turn next.
Right?
I do.
Okay.
Hey, look, if you want to shit on glam, I fully endorse that. Just like, hey, be true to yourselves, man. I will defend glam when it's my turn to speak, but it is Caleb's turn.
Yeah. Well, that's what I think is so ridiculous. Like, somebody at work the other day was like, "You like metal, right? Why don't you have any tattoos?" I'm like, "Well, I don't have to dress all back and grow out my hair just because I like metal. Like, you don't have to be part of the scene. That's
you like country. Why aren't you dating your cousin?"
Yeah, that's what I don't like is the scene of really anything, especially glam. I'll say
you just want to be the cynic.
I don't want to be a member of Queen. Look like I'm playing for Queen every day, and that's kind of what glam kind of feels like to me sometimes.
Queen is not glam though.
Queen is a glam band.
He kind of is. Freddie Mercury's kind of.
No, Queen is definitely a glam band.
Really? You think so?
If anyone's an expert on glam on this panel, it's me. Queen's a glam band.
I guess you're right. Yeah, totally.
Like I can give you the laundry list of reasons, but rather than bore you, just like they are.
Queen is a glam band in the same way that the Beatles are a pop band. That was their bread and butter is glam, but it is sort of sticking them in a smaller box than they are to say that that's what they did.
I mean, they transcended the genre, but they are definitely within it for a good chunk of their catalog.
Their core is glam.
Yeah.
It's reductive to say that's all that they did, but yeah, it's basically what they did.
All right, then I'm going to need a definition of glam later.
I will get to that.
Okay.
Yeah, come visit us in Nashville. Greg will put you through glam rock boot camp. There will be ice cream.
Yeah. So my beginnings for Megadeth, I similarly to Joe, I started listening to Metallica a lot when I was pretty young. I used to really listen to AC/DC like all the time, and I loved AC/DC.
Fun fact: AC/DC started as a glam band.
Yeah.
Look it up.
I don't really care. I don't like AC/DC that much anymore. They've fallen for me. The vocals are really annoying and grating.
But I like Metallica. I will not die on.
Yeah, and I liked Metallica a lot, and I was like, you know what, this is a pretty good band. And then I knew about Megadeth, that like there were these like, you know, secondary Metallica band, almost like a guy that used to be in the band jumped ship, and like I liked some of the big hits like Symphony of Destruction and stuff like that, and I was like, yeah, they're good, they're just not as good. And then one day I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna get into this band, and so I started doing like the YouTube crawl, where like I would just go on and I would go to YouTube and I'd like, hey, okay, here's the best song, and then it would autoplay or like suggest like, hey, you want to listen to this song? I'm like, all right, I'll listen to that song. And like, I was like, yeah, these are pretty decent. These are.
And next thing you know, you're like 13 Kylie Minogue videos in.
Yeah, and it gets downhill.
Like, how did this happen? But I regret nothing.
the song that it hit me with that I was like, wow, this band is amazing, was Hangar 18. It was I was like, this song is fucking sweet. Like, it's just like there's like 4 minutes of guitar battle at the end of the song. I'm like, dude. And then I like went over, and my buddy Jake, who I also do some podcasting with, he was really into Megadeth. His dad was a huge fan of it, and that was right when United Abominations came out, and it was like the week that came out that I got really, really fucking into Hangar 18 and like started really diving deep into the Megadeth. And then that album came out, and I heard the songs Sleepwalker and Washington Is Next, and I immediately went out and bought that CD, and then I realized that the rest isn't really that good. But those two are awesome songs. So like from then on,
those two could be on Rust in Peace.
They could. They're amazing.
Yeah.
And then I think the first one I bought actually was Rust in Peace. That was the first Megadeth album I bought, and then I bought Countdown like a week later.
It's a good pair.
So I started with the best two albums, and then I bought United, which is kind of crappy. And then I also have been buying up all of the Megadeth albums. I think I have two of them left to get: Risk and Super Collider.
Nice.
The two worst CDs they've ever released.
Yeah,
But I really enjoy the band. I do think Rust in Peace might be the best metal album ever made. I think it's hard for me to. I really love Injustice for All and Master of Puppets, but I can't really think of a reason why they would be above this album. This album's really fucking good. It's fast. It's brutal.
As my second favorite band, I got to say that unfortunately you're wrong, but
I'm saying
it's up there.
It's close. I can't think of a reason why it wouldn't. So it's like a three-way thing going on there. But as far as my favorite, probably not this one, but I do think it's a really great album. I think it's easily the best Megadeth album. I think it has no bad songs on it. There are songs that I don't think are that great, but I do think there's one bad one on Countdown, and I think Euthanasia is just a bunch of okay, which isn't a bad thing for a band. But I think this is a decent place to start. Like Joe said, if you're into metal, Rust in Peace is an excellent album, and it's the one I've listened to the most and I've had the longest. And the Case is like evidence of that because it's fucking destroyed.
I'll be honest, I had to listen to this one a few times in order to get into it.
That's how Slayer has always been for me. Like, I listen to the album and I hate it. And then I listen to it again and I'm like, all right, I only hate about 3/4 of this. That's how Megadeth was, but then it was like, okay, I only hate like 2 of them.
I was really into Countdown to Extinction, and then I moved over to Rust in Peace, and the guitar tone is like thinner.
Yeah.
And is a little bit more punk rocky. And so that was the thing that was honestly stopping me from getting into it, was probably because I liked kind of their chug a little bit better as they moved on.
Yeah.
Just like from an engineering standpoint, I didn't like it as much, but after like 2 listens of the album all the way through,
it's almost
and
then,
then listen number 3 was like, oh no, this is fucking sweet.
Yeah. So I love Megadeth. They're also my second favorite band behind Metallica. And it's honestly, the difference between how great I think this album is versus the second best album is about the difference of how great I think Metallica is versus Megadeth. So I think personally, this is easily their best album, and I am super excited to get into the reasons why.
All right, well, I guess I will go next. So I was, originally from Cleveland, Ohio, and it's a big music city. And so getting into music at the age of 14 in Cleveland, I was considered a late bloomer. So my first concert ever was Poison and Kiss together. And I was like, whoa, rock music can be cool. And then went on a deep dive of discovering a lot of bands and watched a lot of VH1 Classic. And a staple of VH1 Classic was Megadeth. Lots of Megadeth on VH1 Classic. And so just the video for Peace Sells all the time. I'm just like, fuck yeah, this is great. I am all about this. So, I eventually started doing like some metal DJing in Cleveland. And so people would just give me their metal CDs to add to the playlist. And so I got the entire Megadeth discography through that. Just burnt copies to DJ. And so became pretty familiar with it and liked it a lot. But Megadeth, as much as I like them, they aren't in my top 10. and they're probably not even. I'm more of a rocker than a metal guy, so I like metal. And the thing that I often say to people with my musical taste is like, I enjoy metal, but I don't get heavier than Megadeth. And what I mean by that is I like a sense of melody, and I think vocals are important. And I think Megadeth is right in that sweet spot where it can still be heavy and aggressive, but the vocals can still be appealing.
Yeah, I get you, actually. I get you quite a bit on that one.
And so, like, that is, what I often say. Like, I don't go heavier than Megadeth, but I actually do go heavier than Megadeth at this point in my life. But that was just my go-to example band. But the thing is, as far as metal bands, I would maybe put them as my number 3 metal band, as far as bands that are considered metal when you talk about them. Mm-hmm. So I'd put them underneath Loudness and Dio for me. And Ozzy, I kind of consider him to be more rock than metal. So I would say, as far as like bands that are pretty much universally called metal, I'd put them below Loudness and Dio, but above pretty much everyone else. I enjoy them quite a bit. And I think part of it is because they're kind of glammy for a thrash band, as much as Dave Mustaine hates glam.
Dave just stopped listening to this podcast.
Yeah, so Dave, I'm going to call you out.
He was listening to it before, but now...
Let's be honest. He didn't stop listening just now.
Right.
He heard us call him out, and he's like, I'm typing comments right now!
The thing is...
Dear Greg, asshole.
So if you actually look at glam, most Americans are only familiar with 80s American hair metal, so bands like Poison, Warrant... Whitesnake, all those bands is what Americans think of with glam, but it really...
You just named all my glam bands, yeah.
Yeah. Also, I've never heard someone say Bret Michaels made something look cool until now, so thank you for that.
Well, so...
I've never even thought that was possible.
I used to live in a smallish city in Iowa, like 6 years back, and Bret Michaels would do like his annual birthday show in that city. And some dude was randomly trying to convince me to go to the Bret Michaels show. Be like, dude, you should go see Bret Michaels. There's going to be a lot of chicks there. And I was like, yeah, like women who are old enough to be my mom.
Actually, I will say this. Bret Michaels and Poison attracted a lot of young girls even when I was in high school, and it was very weird for me. Like, what? There's a bunch of teenage girls at this show?
I don't want to go to a Bret Michaels show to pick up teenagers either, Greg.
When I was in high school and I was a teenager, they were the same age as me, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, this was my mid-20s, though.
Yeah, you're gross. Anyway.
I didn't go to Bret Michaels.
But glam really started in the 70s in England, and you had a lot of bands like T-Rex, Queen, Slade, Gary Glitter, David Bowie. And the thing is, the vocal stylings that Dave is using is basically the same stuff that a lot of those 70s glam guys did. And the thing is, he's into 70s glam bands. So there are a lot of those bands that he cites as an influence. And a lot of those 80s glam bands, like, they have very similar guitar tones to Megadeth. Like, if you listen to a Rat album and A-B it with a Megadeth album of the same era, the guitar tones are pretty much the same. The drum tones are pretty much the same. The difference? They just wrote hookier songs. And they weren't as fast. But otherwise, if you A-B those back to back, there's not much difference. Yes, Dave decided to sing about, fantasy books instead of getting laid because he was angry that he wasn't getting laid.
And at the government.
Right, and at the government. But, like, musically...
War's bad, you guys!
Musically, they weren't nearly as different as people think. I would say bands like Metallica, Slayer, and Anthrax, there is a greater divide between them and the glam bands of the 80s. But Megadeth, not as much. But, I mean, I obviously love Megadeth. I gave them a shout-out in my song about how you can love different genres of music and call them all rock and roll, which was, albeit slightly ironically, because I knew Dave would be like, what? Don't compare me to Al Green. That guy's a hack. The big thing with Megadeth is they're a band that I don't take completely seriously. Like, I love them.
And that's why Dave hates you.
It's a tongue-in-cheek way, like the way I love 60s Batman, where I'm like, this is ridiculous and dumb, but I love it. because I can't take Dave Mustaine seriously as a person. Like, Metallica, when they talk about how they hate glam, I take it more seriously because they're serious humans and you can kind of wrap your brain around taking them seriously as people. But
well, they
Dave...
don't do their little sneer thing in the middle of their song.
Right.
Hello, me.
They honestly are very similar to each other, though. They kind of believe the same things.
They do believe the same things, but the thing is, Dave does it in a ridiculous way where you don't take him seriously about it. Where if Dave calls someone a poser, I'm just like, oh, whatever, you're basically a glam band, just shut up. Versus when Metallica calls someone a poser, like, oh, you guys are really angry. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I will
Careful,
say
you
that
might make Dave cry.
He's the better guitarist, and I think that he's never had a drummer that's not better than Lars Ulrich, to be completely honest. But
Megadeth is a much better band. He has much better players than Metallica does.
That's the hard part. Is like technically, yes, they are better, but they're just not. You know what I mean? Like it's like fucking.
He doesn't know what you mean, man. He ranked loudness and Dio above Megadeth.
That's true. I guess he doesn't know what I mean, but it's kind of like Dream Theater. Dream Theater is technically more skilled than all of these bands we've mentioned, but they're just not as good.
Well, for me, it's it's the same thing I say every episode. I know people are probably sick of it at this point, but it always just comes down to the songwriting. Do you have good songs? How's your writing? And honestly, that's why this Megadeth album is probably like 5th place for me in their catalog.
Oh, what?
I'd put
second or a third, but 5th?
I like Peace Sells more. I like the first album. I like Countdown better. And I like Euthanasia better. So this is probably number 5. But also remember, like, Peace Sells, as a glam rock dude, a guy who's into 80s metal, 80s glam metal, Peace Sells is probably the closest to that sonically. So I jammed that, and for me, it's which albums contain my favorite Megadeth songs.
Oh, fuck you! Peace Sells is great, but that's it.
But here's my thing. I will say this: I don't think Megadeth has made a bad album, and I think
that's not true.
I think all of them have their merits.
True.
I think all the albums have their merits, and honestly, there's only 2 albums I could really see as like decisively lower quality than the rest, where everything else is pretty neck and neck in terms of quality. And if you gave me a ranking and put them in a random order, I'd be okay with it. Only ones.
What are the 2?
So Far, So Good, So What, I think would be arguably one of the weaker ones. Like, everything else is pretty solid. And then Risk, even though I actually like Risk a lot, I can understand why most Megadeth fans would rank it lower. And I'd probably put United Abominations like in that same sort of category too. So I guess those 3 would maybe be the ones I could see people disliking more. But everything else, to me, is roughly similar quality, and you can interchange them much more. I don't think it's as decisive as... It's like when people say Final Fantasy VI is by far the best Final Fantasy. I'm like, nah, it's solid, and I could see anyone making the case for 6, but also make the case for 7, 9, and 10. Like, if you placed any of those as your number 1, I'd be like, yeah, it makes sense. But it's not like, this is clearly superior to those other ones. Like, nah, they're all roughly similar quality.
Yeah, I thought I was going to have to fly out there and choke you, but I guess I don't anymore. Because I was like, all right, what is the worst? Go on. Say it. Fucking say it. What's the worst? Worst 2.
He's really getting off on having the opposite opinion of every Megadeth fan.
I know. It was like in the chat the other day. I was reading, and I was like, okay, no.
But remember, I'm more of a rock guy, and I like pop hooks. So, of course, I'm going to like Risk.
I guess.
And also, the thing that's with me is I enjoy bands with diverse catalogs. Going through the Kiss catalog, we're in their experimental era now, and we just got done doing their weird progressive rock concept album with Middle Ages instruments and all kinds of hero's journey stuff. And that's my favorite Kiss album, and it's usually considered to be their worst because it's so different. But I like different. Different is fun. I like when bands, experiment and do different things. So that's my taste. So Risk is probably right beneath Rust in Peace in my ranking.
Okay. All right.
But let's get Steve
We can
thoughts.
hear your teeth grinding.
Yeah, me and Schweiss are over here seething.
Greg.
Crush'em's catchy. What can I say? Prince of Darkness, man.
Prince of Darkness is the best song on that album. Every other song is bad. That's just there's Prince of Darkness, and then there's every other song on Risk.
I like pop rock, man.
I see that.
You like what?
He likes pop rock.
Oh, okay. I agree. Prince of Darkness is pretty sweet.
Yeah. It sounds like it shouldn't be on Risk.
Yeah, it sounds out of place because
it
it's
sounds
good.
like they took it off the last album and pasted it on the end of Risk.
What was last? Cryptic?
I think it was Cryptic. Yeah.
Wait, so you're telling me you like World Needs a Hero more than this Rust in Peace album?
No, I didn't say that.
Oh, well, you said...
You said Risk.
Risk is right beneath this in my ranking is what I'm saying.
Oh, that's... Okay. I was going to say it's...
But the thing is, it's very close, and my mood could change very easily, and the things could be reordered. I did a binge on the discography the other day just because I wanted to refresh myself in the entire catalog and how Rust fits into it. And, I mean, Risk is fine. It's a good album. Does it sound like the rest of the catalog? No, but if you just take it in isolation for what it is, it's fine. It's fun.
Noted.
Steve, what are your thoughts on Megadeth and Rust in Peace?
So, by the time I started getting really interested in discovering music for myself, Megadeth was kind of an established act, and they were starting to get into the sort of classic rock era in my mind. So I heard their radio singles and generally thought they were okay. Moto Psycho was pretty catchy. But I hadn't really given them much careful consideration. And in general, I do kind of consider myself a metal guy, but my metal taste basically, jumps directly from whatever Helloween was doing straight to whatever Genghis Tron started doing. So just that whole 90s era, I don't really care about until we start getting into the really weird metal that if you say you're into metal, you're like, yeah, I'm into metal like Iron Maiden, and you play this kind of stuff. I'm like, what is even going on? Are those instruments? So
are those actually bands and not just words you made up?
Yeah, because
no, those are real bands. I've listened to them with Steve. They're real bands.
I make Greg listen to this.
He's
stuff.
like, Greg, check out this experimental jazz metal.
Old Train is one of the greatest things I've ever heard.
Here's the thing. When we were on tour, when we had a fill-in guitarist, and we were listening to music, driving on tour, and the guitarist got really pissed off at Steve. It's like, Steve, you can't actually like this music.
Look,
you're just pretending to like this. This isn't real.
Just because it didn't have percussion or a consistent time signature, doesn't mean it's not good.
It's basically Steve is into avant-garde bullshit.
I am into avant.
Our friend Cameron is into Ghost, and that's kind of how I feel about it. It's like, you can't like this.
So here's the fun thing about Ghost.
We just released that episode.
We just did an episode on Ghost. Fun fact, they also started off as a glam band, and fun fact, their new album goes back to their musical roots, and it's way better than everything they've done, and I had to begrudgingly admit it's good because I had written them off as hipster bullshit. I'm like, fuck, this is actually a good album? I'm really pissed off that this is good because now I have to say nice things about their music.
Just find them to be, and I have listened to Circe or whatever that song is called. I don't know how to say that.
No, a piece of shit. Everything is shit up until the new album.
I just found
garbage.
I just found it boring.
Yes, you are correct.
And it's just there's no life there. And I get that they're a bunch of skull priests or whatever, so maybe they want to sound dead and boring, but
that's a terrible shtick. Our shtick is that we're bad at music.
Yeah, that's what punk is. That's what punk is that they're awful. Yeah.
Steve's a punk guy, so he'll fight you on that.
I hate punk. Misfits are a piece of shit band.
I mean, the Misfits themselves are definitely pieces of shit.
We should have just done this in person so that we could fight.
Yeah, we could just start choking each other with the cords. Like, come here, you little fuck. Place.
But you guys have to remember, I'm from Cleveland. I'm hardened. I don't know if you'd want to fight me.
Hey, man.
He's short, so he swings low.
Oh, we're all short here.
So I, as the medium height person, would be the one getting the short end of the stick, as it were.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everybody, stop punching me in the nuts, please.
Yeah.
But yeah, unfortunately, the new Ghost album is good. It has energy and life to it and ripping guitar solos. It's really disappointing how good it is.
Really disappointing how good it is.
It was disappointingly amazing.
Well, it's because, like, you know how, like, you can decisively say, oh, this band sucks, and you feel good about, like, having a really solid grasp of their music, and then they impress you and you have to take it back, and you're like, fuck. All those thoughts I built up in my mind, I have to reestablish now.
I might even have to go back and re-listen to their old discography to see if I just missed it.
I did, and it still sucked, which, I felt better about.
I've done that before. I'm like, maybe? No, it's bad.
I mean, if Shania Twain comes out with a great album tomorrow and I'm somehow convinced of that, I'm still not going to go back and listen to the one that was popular when I was in middle school.
Well, you don't have to.
Right.
It's permanently ingrained.
You're right. I know all those songs.
All right, so speaking of
Don't
songs,
press me much.
ready to get into the ranking of this album? Or did you finish your thoughts on Megadeth?
I mean, not really. Like, I was just like...
Go ahead.
I was in a thrash band even, and it's not my genre. Thrash is just kind of boring to me. Everything that thrash sets out to do, other genres have done better. Like fast metal. I mean, black metal was already a thing, and I think that's a lot better. Fast amelodic metal. Black metal was already... Sorry?
Nothing. Go ahead.
Like just... energetic music, punk was already a thing. Scary songs about death and whatnot, doom metal was already a thing. There's just nothing that thrash does that I don't think something else does better.
Aren't you a guitarist?
Yeah, not really. I'm a bassist.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, maybe that's why you don't know that punk sucks.
Hey, I get to play.
Well, my favorite thing is I was watching some documentary on rock and like a guy, some big punk guy, I don't know who the fuck it was, and I can't remember what the documentary was, but he's like, yeah, man, you don't even need to know your instruments. That's what it's about. It's just about attitude. It's like, fuck that.
You know
That's why your music is unlistenable.
You know what's really... I used to be very anti-punk, and I've since gotten it over the years and have come to actually really like it. Basically, I always liked the Ramones, and then listened to Minor Threat, and they were sort of my gateway into appreciating punk. The thing about punk, it's more about writing simple, catchy songs with energy and aggression. And I appreciate that for what it is, and I've found ways to enjoy it. And so there are a lot of punk bands I enjoy very much at this point because I never gave the songwriting a chance. And looking back at it, I've come to appreciate, because for me, it's not about how technical you are. It's about playing what's right for the material you wrote. And so we've had guitar players who are like, I want to shred on this song. I'm like, dude, it's an acoustic ballad. You need to chill the fuck out. Like, no, pinch harmonics all the time. Zakk Wylde's my favorite. Wah, wah, wah. I'm like, no. Wee. You need to calm down. You need to play what's appropriate for the material. Like, a lot of people give Vivian Campbell shit because he's in Def Leppard. And it's like, you used to shred when you weren't Dio, and now you've scaled it back. I'm like, yeah, you're playing what's appropriate for the song. Good for you. So for me, that's always what it's about for me. Play what's good for the material. But sometimes the material is, let's kick some ass. Let's be an aggressive thrash band and just melt your face. And sometimes that's what's appropriate. And in the case of Megadeth, they usually play what is appropriate for the material and play it very well.
So I think the trick is, as a bassist rather than a guitarist, what thrash doesn't do for me, so there's not enough gallops.
There's not enough gallops?
Not enough gallops for Steve. But here's what I'll say about... Here's what I'll say about Rust in Peace in comparison to the other albums. Since I was just talking about playing, I think this album doesn't have their best material, but it is their best produced album, best sounding album, and also their best playing. So in terms of the energy and the passion, I think this is their most energetic and passionate.
I agree with the last part.
We could not disagree more. Okay. All right. So
Punk, you justified punk by saying that they're bad. You just have to be as bad as your writing to be good. That's what it's like you were saying. Like, well, it fits the writing. It fits the mood. It's like, it sounds like shit. Yeah, it fits it.
Well, it's in the sense that
went in bathroom shit. You know.
well, but all right. So as long as you're playing the right chords for the song in key, like you're not missing the notes,
or in Sid Vicious' case, you're unplugged.
Right. I mean, I don't like the Sex Pistols. They're a trash band. But as long as
but they're great fashion icons.
we can agree on one.
There it is. Sex Pistols suck.
you know, they're awful. There is nothing valuable of that band.
Okay. All right. Let's break this. So punk, we all know was Steve doesn't know this, but everybody else knows that punk was improved when you added heavy metal to it.
Yeah, punk plus
and
heavy metal.
Skill on the guitar.
Are we talking about metalcore now? All right, let's do this then.
I think he's
Sky
saying,
Eats Airplane
I
is
think
great.
he's saying that thrash, which took influence from the speed of punk, was a moving forward for both the genre of metal and the genre of punk. Blending them together made what is considered by our guests to be far superior music. And I think there is a lot of validity in that statement of how good the genre is, but I think there are still things to appreciate in both older metal, pre-thrash, and punk, personally.
I agree with older metal. Yeah, there's great Black Sabbath stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think anybody here would say that.
That was all slow music, though. Well, not all, but pretty much.
The best
Black
Sabbath stuff was very slow.
No, the best Sabbath stuff was fast. When Dio came in the band, it's like, you guys are too slow. Let's pick it up.
No one listens to Dio Sabbath.
I like the idea of Dio showing up and saying to the dude whose fingers had been, chopped off, which was why he was playing so slow. Like, why don't you play faster?
Also, I will tell you. So, you guys, aren't, in a music city like Nashville. Dio Sabbath is respected the hell in this city. So if you
the Used, we got Killers.
Yeah, the Used started in Orem. That's a town away.
But what I'm saying is, in a city that is based around music, like if you said, "Oh, no one cares about Dio era Sabbath," there'd be some angry folks in this city.
It was a joke. It's a joke.
I think Dio's better.
I like that you're talking about how much punk sucks, and then you defend your own music.
You defend
scene.
Ozzy over Dio.
You defend your own music scene with an emo band. What if we took punk and made it sad?
We weren't in a music city, and I had to say a list of huge bands that are from
just
this
all
area.
that you had. Be like, oh, we got a dance pop band and some sad boys.
They're all echoey shit, but
hey, Killers they have a good song.
It's echoey shit.
It is, yeah.
But
and that one joke guy did it better. The John Cheese or whatever.
Oh, Richard Cheese.
Oh yeah,
the lounge guy.
I had a girlfriend who looked like a.
Had a girlfriend, looked like a boyfriend.
Yeah.
So as we've been fighting about the core concept of Megadeth and metal
for about 45 minutes now,
we haven't even had a chance to fight about our song ranking and why some songs are ranked too low. So you guys ready to fight each other even more?
Heads up, folks! This is going to be a two-parter.
Probably.
I want to fight about you talking that this was the best sounding Megadeth record as well.
I'm a glam guy. Think about my taste enjoying 80s glam metal. So for me, this is very appealing. Good guitar tone. I think the drums are a little bit dry, but I think it works in the context of the record. So like as a cohesive piece, I normally like a little bit more crack with my drums, but it works really well.
So did a lot of 80s metal guys, Greg, let me tell you.
There we go.
I don't know. I think when they got a little bit of a wider sound and he had a little bit more scoop in that guitar tone, I thought that the Megadeth sound was improved.
Yeah. I think this is easily the best album and it has some of the best songs, so I like it more for that.
But I would
think
say
Countdown.
I think Countdown sounds better, like just from a sonic standpoint, and I think Endgame sounds freaking awesome.
Yeah, it's not as good, but
it's not as good of an album.
Really good.
But the engineering I thought was better.
And Megadeth has always had like godly engineering though.
I always thought that because he was always complaining. Dave Mustaine complained for years that he would just use whatever they had. So like the guitar tone on their first couple records is just from like some crappy amp and it's just crappy equipment, and so it just doesn't have that bite to it. But I guess as a rock guy, it's not quite all high octane distortion. So it's a little bit more mid range, and so I can see why you might like the tone more. That makes a little sense.
All right, so let's get into this ranking.
I'm into the more scooped sound.
And I get that, but like I said, my home base, I mean, the stuff that your dad listens to, I probably think is awesome. I'm like, yes, crank up that Bachman Turner overdrive. Hell yeah.
George Strait.
Awesome still? I think not.
I don't know what else. My dad listens to bluegrass. I don't know. What does your dad listen to, Schweiss?
He listens to rock and metal.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
You're all lucky. I had to listen to country for years.
Yeah. That's
only
unfortunate.
country.
It is the worst genre, I will say, to me.
Worse than punk?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
to you. Is that because it's too catchy, too poppy, too produced? Because I know you like a little bit of at least Johnny Cash.
he's kind of more blues, though. I can get away with that.
Okay.
Like calling him a blues artist.
Calling it something else.
Yeah, being like, no. He's a blues guy.
I think the trick with country is that there are some really good country artists, but there's less good artists. It's less plentiful in the mainstream to find artists that I think are really good. So with rock and metal, there's like, oh yeah, I can think of like 100, rock and metal bands I dig, and then country's like maybe 15 or 20. But
yeah,
so,
it's just never been my genre. I've never gotten into it.
I mean, not mine either, but like, man, I can't knock Willie Nelson. Like, I can't knock the dude. And there's a lot of good stuff in the genre, so it's not my home base, but it's still solid.
Even though you're in Nashville, it's not your home base country.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not my home base in terms of like what I prefer to listen to.
I would call that definitely your home base.
Yeah, country is my home
Wheelhouse.
base.
Wheelhouse, I think, is the word you want.
Yeah, wheelhouse. Although
okay.
I've done some country, so
Your wagon wheelhouse, as it
I
were.
bet you have over there.
yeah.
yeah. But all right, ranking.
We just had some people who just got back from Broadway walking to the house. We probably shouldn't talk about wagon wheel. It might be mean.
All right. So the least best song on this album is voted by the panel. Transition. To get this train a rolling, we have My Creation as the last place song because Joe is the only one who voted on it.
Yep.
None of us bothered to give it a vote except for Joe.
Well, look.
And you gave it, 1 point?
Yeah, so he ranked it last anyway.
Would anybody have ranked it higher had they voted for it? Though?
No.
Just wondering, you guys.
I might have, only because
I might have ranked it second last.
it's fun as a gimmick piece. It's not a song I seek out and listen to. I mean, first of all, I don't even consider it to be canonically part of the album at all. So that's why I didn't bother ranking it. But, I mean, it's fun for what it is. Just like I said, I don't really take Megadeth all that seriously. They're in the same category as Manowar for me. We're like, we call everybody else posers, and we're super ridiculous. So... this is a very goofy song, but I still like it. I wouldn't give it a thumbs down. If it was thumbs up, thumbs down, it's still a thumbs up from me.
No, I would just rank it last on the album.
Yeah, it doesn't really fit.
No, it doesn't, and that's why it's not there, I'm assuming.
Yeah, the rest of the album is really themed around like nuclear war and war in general, and like the progression of warfare,
As opposed to the plot of a 1930 movie.
Yeah, some silent film.
It's not a silent film, but it's an old movie. That's what that is.
It's not silent anymore now that Megadeth's talking about it.
But
I watched that movie like 2 months ago. I promise you it's not silent. But it is kind of out of place, and I don't think it really goes anywhere that interesting. But, it's, yeah. They could have put it like in the middle of the album, in between like, I don't know, like Five Magics and Tornado of Souls, and I guess it could have worked there. But
yeah, I suppose, yeah.
I don't know.
But they didn't when they made the album, so fuck it.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next song in our ranking. I did not rank this as the last place song, but, there were some other people who didn't care for it as much. We have Dawn Patrol next in our ranking.
Now, just because it's ranked low doesn't mean that you don't care for it.
That's
this is
true.
An amazing album. Dawn Patrol, I think, is a great little ditty.
Great little ditty.
A great little ditty on the bass with a very cool groove by Dave Ellefson. I believe he actually wrote that riff, and then someone else wrote the poetry on top of it.
So is there a point to like the kissing sounds at the end where he's just going like,
I think that's you running out of air. I don't know.
Yeah, he had a really weird vocal technique on this song, but it was very fun to listen to.
Like that's the noise that I make to say goodbye to my mom when talking to her on the phone. Like, love you, mom.
You go.
So Dave Mustaine is talking to my mom on the phone, presumably. I love you, Miss Smith.
Don't let me catch you listening to Metallica. Kid.
He's got a little bit of a British affectation in his voice in that thing, and it's always goofy to me. If it was only like the bass line, or if he was talking like a normal fucking person, maybe it would be ranked a little higher because the bass line is fucking sweet.
Well, he probably picked up the accent from talking to my mom. She's a little deaf, so still has a thick Canadian accent.
I think Britney Spears has been doing that recently, where she's like doing this weird British voice thing, and it's just like, what? It doesn't quite work. I don't know what that is, but whatever.
Well, see, I view it as him playing a character. He's an Alice Cooper fan, obviously. Dave is an Alice Cooper fan, and so it's all about playing a character in the song. And this is,
theatricality.
Yeah, a little theatricality, and I think it's a fun piece. And I'm glad you mentioned groove, because I think that is, for me, a very distinct difference between Metallica and Megadeth. Is I think Megadeth has a much better sense of groove than Metallica does, and I think that comes down to, when Lars is your drummer, you're not going to have the best sense of groove.
I don't know if that's. Maybe in general, I think you're right.
In general, and I do think he got better with groove as their music became less interesting. So, Black Album onwards, he got better with groove, but the songs weren't as good or interesting.
That backbeat on the Black Album is fucking awesome.
Yeah, or Four Horsemen, but that's also Dave's song. So I mean, that one's kind of got that little groove.
Mechanics is better.
That is bullshit. It's faster
and more awesome.
No,
I can't.
No,
it's his song. That's all I'll say.
Look, it's his song, and he's like, you know what? I'm gonna play it the way I wrote it, and not the way you guys butchered it. I'm like, you know what? Good for you. Fuck those guys. Do it your way, Dave.
I swear to God, you are the only person on the planet who thinks that
you're the antithesis of us.
That's what we are. Four Horsemen.
When we were born into this world, you just suddenly became.
You just spawned on the dark side of the planet.
One day we'll ascend. We'll come to this podcast and we'll group up, and we're gonna be arch nemesis.
What's the podcast?
It's probably good. Probably a good thing we're not doing this in person, because I'm pretty sure if you guys touched each other, you'd explode like antimatter.
Yeah, we'd just be unmade.
Create a dark hole or some shit.
It would be the end of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, come on.
The prophecy is fulfilled.
My personal list, I didn't include my creation, but I put Dawn Patrol as second to last. And I do enjoy the bass. One thing I love about Megadeth that Metallica doesn't have as much is Megadeth really does celebrate all of the instruments in the band. And we all know Metallica has the infamous, And Justice for All, one of the best albums ever made, where there's barely any bass. They turned the bass down.
They were just listening to a lot of Prince, and they're like, you know what? Bass isn't that important.
Yeah, well, it was like...
They were listening to a lot of Prince, and we're like, you know what? Songs aren't that important.
Oh, I will fight you on that, sir. I will fight you on that.
Fuck you for both the Prince insult and the Metallica insult.
Here's why this is great. You can disagree with me on a pure intellectual level. I disagree with you, sir. And then Steve is just the pure visceral fuck you.
All of your opinions are wrong.
Because he just beats you across the face when they're like, fuck Prince. I kind of agree, but he does have a couple really good songs.
How dare you, Schweiss.
Hey, man. I'm sorry. I'm with the bassist on this one.
It.
All of your opinions are terrible.
But I do enjoy the bass in Megadeth, and I think Megadeth likes to have the spotlight on everybody. And I know Dave Ellefson is not as good as any of the bassists that have been in Metallica, but I do think
I disagree with that. But go ahead.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
He's pretty awesome, but
he's a really great bassist.
The others, I don't know.
He is more. He doesn't
He's more of a bassist. He doesn't like get all up in your
He's a straight up
face.
bassist. Yeah, he just.
But I love like the bass solo at the beginning of Peace Sells is awesome. You know, the bass solo in this song is awesome. Like I enjoy the bass of Megadeth. I think Megadeth does a much better job with the bass guitar as an instrument than Metallica does. And this song is one of those reasons. I think it is kind of goofy at times, but I think it does kind of fit with the theme of the album really well. Because they're talking about, you know, like the bombs have all gone off. This is basically the end. We're all living underground. Everyone's dead. So it's this like foreboding, like evil, like British voice. And just like, personally, I always imagined it as being their mascot, being the guy talking during this thing, even though he can't talk. But maybe like his internal voice is like a British guy that sounds kind of like Dave Mustaine. I don't know. But I've always kind of thought this was a pretty fun song. But if I'm going to rank it against the rest of what I think is
it's not really a song, it's
a great
like
album, it's like what you said, a little ditty. It's like just a joke, you know. And it's not much of a transition either, because it's the very fucking end of the album.
No, that's right before Rest in Peace.
Yeah, no, that's the last song, isn't it?
It's still a transition. If it's between two songs.
Yeah, it's a transition between.
No, I know. I guess
track 7.
Yes, fine.
Well, I think he's saying it's a transition into the end of the album.
Yeah.
I suppose, yeah, but it's weird because thematically it should be after the last song based on what each song is like discussing. But
yeah, but then you got to have the drum line from Rest in Peace come in. Rest in Peace, Polaris.
I guess, yeah, it works. It works.
Yeah, it works perfectly.
It does. But
come on,
fuck it. It's the second worst song on here, so screw the song. Are you happy? Fuck it. It sounds goofy. It's a child song.
No, here's what I would say. Once again, back to the
science.
Oops, wrong.
Bitch.
Wrong button.
All right, I'm done talking about this crappy song.
That is a drop. That is not me. Well, that is me, but talking about a different song. So here is what I will say. You know, one of the nice things about the format of the show is that it's not necessarily bad songs, just things we like better than others, and it's just a discussion of art. So I don't think there is a bad song on this album, personally.
Does Steve have an opinion about Dawn Patrol?
Oh,
yeah.
I put it at the end. I thought it was like the lyrics were really pretentious, and that kissing sound at the end was goofy.
Okay.
Oh,
All
yeah,
right.
sorry. You went on the bit about kissing your mom, and that I considered as your commentary
Like,
on the
that's
track.
all I had to say. Is like I'm just like, I'll be honest. I didn't much enjoy this album. I'm mostly just gonna crack jokes about it. Sorry, not sorry.
Hey, you know what? It took me 3 listens. You gotta do it a few times, Steve.
Yeah, this one is we were actually talking about that before the podcast, where I told him, like, this is not the most accessible Megadeth album on, like, a first listen liking it. This one, it's a grower. It's not a shower.
Yes.
It sure is.
And then, as we move on to the next song, we have Poison Was the Cure.
All right. Poison is the Cure.
Poison Was the Cure is the next one in our ranking.
This is about the band, right?
about the great band Poison and the great band The Cure.
Well, both. He's like that's what he's talking about, right? He's convinced that Robert Smith and Bret Michaels are the same person, right?
Yeah, that's what it's about. You know, pretty solid song for given the lyrical content.
Have you ever seen the two of them in the same room?
I mean, no.
Dun, dun, dun.
I've never tried. No. That's a good point. I actually put Poison Was the Cure as my number 6. I enjoy the song. I like the chorus a little more than the Lucrezia song's chorus. And for me, I don't know, there's something about like Megadeth's choruses. Like sometimes they're really good and they're really solid, and that can kind of make the song. And Poison Was the Cure, I think overall is a more enjoyable song than Lucrezia and Dawn Patrol and Five Magics, to be completely honest, which is the shittiest one on there for me.
I think I put it as lowest under, like, besides Dawn Patrol.
This one?
Yeah.
And this is kind of the part of the album that's like the okay stuff.
The middle section.
Yeah, the middle section of the album. They're all pretty close to each other, but I think overall I enjoy listening to the song a little bit more. I kind of like the lyrics of it a little more than Lucrezia. I like the hook. I like the when he says Lucrezia, it sounds like really. I don't like it. I don't know. So this one's all right. It's not one that I will like get in the mood for necessarily at any point in time. Like I'll just be like, oh, I really want to listen to this song. Like that doesn't happen with the bottom like 4 songs.
It has a lot of the speed of Take No Prisoners. But to me, it has a little bit more of that punky side of Megadeth, which I don't like as much as the heavy side of Megadeth. So if I'm going to rank all these songs against each other, then the one that's just the tremolo picking over and over again, and the like the weird kind of rock riff that's really fast. It's not going to be ranked as high, but I do like that song a lot. When he switches over, he's like da 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 da.
Yeah, that part's sweet.
That little section right there
That's
is the reason I listen to the song.
That's why I like it more.
It's because of that part. I just really like the kind of the way that part kind of switches around, and I don't know. I dig the song, but I don't. It's the punky side of Megadeth I don't really appreciate as much.
So, listeners, your challenge with this particular episode is to go through and find all of the let-da-da-das that people are doing and turn it into a Von Canto cover of something from this album.
That's great. So, Poison was the cure. So, I think it's in many ways... I did understand that reference.
Right.
Did I show you Von Canto, or did you know them in isolation before me?
I found them through Pandora.
Nice.
Like the station that I seeded with, like Halloween or Ed Guy or something was like, you want some Von Canto? And I was like, yes, that is what I want.
That reminds me, Joe, we haven't seeded together in many moons. Tonight we shall see.
As a computer programmer, I use the word seed completely unironically fairly often.
All right.
So Steve, you like punk. What do you think of Poison Was the Cure?
I put this one pretty well in the middle. I thought that the bass intro was pretty cool, and this one was a little shorter and more to the point than some of the other ones, which I think is to its benefit. A lot of this album really kind of dragged for me, where songs just kept on going and going. So pretty middling.
I literally told Schweiss earlier today. He was asking me about shit. I forgot the name of the song again. Dun 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 dun.
Take No Prisoners.
Take No Prisoners. Thank you. And he was like, "Yeah, Take No Prisoners. Great song, amazing song, perfect song, up in my top 4." And I was like, you know what? It's too short to be a great song.
I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think great songs can be. First of all, my favorite Beatles song is "I Want to Hold Your Hand." It's a very short song, but it's as long as it needs to be. It's fantastic, and I think short songs can be great. I think this one
by Smashing Pumpkins, under 3 minutes. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Probably why it's good.
That one, I don't think we've done that one yet.
Which one was it? I didn't
Miracle?
Miracle?
The song Zero. I don't know about
Zero. Hey, we're recording that one tomorrow.
Yep.
Oh, there you go.
It's a 3-minute song, and it's awesome. Yeah.
Hit my funny bone for
it
a
happens.
second
It happens.
But Poison Was the Cure seems in many ways sort of a sister song to Take No Prisoners. They're sort of the fast, punky, short songs on the album. And I think Poison Was the Cure. I think this one has better riffs, but I think Take No Prisoners has a better melody and better hooks. And so at the end of the day, this one, if I want to play it on guitar and my wrist still worked, then I would want to play this song, if my wrist hadn't been destroyed from years of bartending. But hey, it's a solid tune. I can't knock it. Like I said, I like every song on this album. Some I like more than others. But this one, I will say, really great guitar riffs in this one.
Yeah. See, now I'm a Metallica fan, so all my favorite songs are like 7 minutes long. So the idea of saying that a song that's 3 minutes long is better than a song that's 5 minutes long, it just doesn't feel right.
But also, I listen to a lot of Jim Steinman, and his songs are like 8 minutes long, like minimum, for the most part. So I can dig long songs, too. For me, it's all about, does the composition work as a cohesive piece? Sometimes songs are too long for their own good, like Four Horsemen, where they're not actually epic and just kind of middle. And then sometimes, you get it short and sweet, and you nail it, like Take No Prisoners.
And see, I'm a Dragged Into Sunlight fan, so I like my songs about 40 minutes long.
I like the band X Japan, so I like my songs to be 45 minutes long. Just the album is one song.
Oh my
God. Now this is just dick-whipping contest.
Yeah, there is one album that is just one track.
Man, I tried X Japan. I couldn't get into it. I tried so hard.
Wait, how long was Speedball Jam?
Speedball Jam is like an hour and 22 minutes.
No,
That is.
Is
So
it just one song or?
it's just one guitar solo.
Yeah.
Just Vinnie Vincent shredding for an hour and 22 minutes.
Probably the longest one you're going to get outside of a Grateful Dead concert.
Yeah. What a ridiculous CD. That's my go-to troll music. If someone's in the car with me and I want to see how long I can troll them with, I just put on Speedball Jam before they just like say, Greg, turn this off now.
Have you found it on a jukebox yet?
No, of course not.
We went to a barbecue place once, and Greg was like, "I got $1. I'm going to put some music on the jukebox." 4 Steinman songs, and 45 minutes later, somebody walked over and punched in the manager override code.
Okay, I paid for that.
Yeah, I did.
Can I have my 25 cents back, please?
But I mean, hey, that's bang for your buck because each of those songs like 8 minutes long, and I think I also did the Kiss 100,000 Years live with the drum solo that's like 12 minutes long. I'm a terrible person.
Put him over the edge. It's like, goddamn drum solo.
How long is that Neil Peart one? Or
From which live album?
fuck if I know, dude. I had one kid in high school that showed me a drum solo. I assume it was really long. That's all I remember about it. It was just like he kept drumming.
Yeah,
that's all it was.
That's kind of his modus operandi.
Yeah, that's about how I
Can't stop
feel
here.
about it.
That's when the rest of the band goes backstage and does math.
That's what Rush does when they want to have a wild and crazy party. Like, guys, let's do some long division. Let's play some Sudoku.
I fucking believe it, man.
Yeah.
I love Rush. They're in my top 10. I rank Rush above Megadeth. I like them better.
You know what? Most people do.
That's probably true.
Schweiss and I do not agree, but most people do.
Once again, I love Megadeth. Just because they're not in my top 10 doesn't mean I don't love them. It doesn't mean I don't love the catalog.
Dave is getting angrier and angrier and angrier.
He's just like he's got a 13 paragraph screed he's going to post in the YouTube comments.
Dave, I like your band because you're really glammy. It's great.
You're only allowed to like Scorpions while they're touring. That's it.
Yeah.
You're only allowed to like Scorpions more than Megadeth. Actually, I think it's Scorpions, Kiss, and Megadeth are having a big concert, which I thought that was just like an odd couple pairing.
Yeah.
That does sound like the setup to a weird joke. The Scorpions, Kiss, and Megadeth walk into a bar.
I'm not kidding, man. Dave Mustaine set out a tweet. It was like they're playing somewhere in South America, and it's those 3 bands.
Yeah, they walk into a bar and Dave starts pissing everywhere.
So Now, I will also say this about Megadeth. I've only seen them once, but I absolutely loved them live. Steve did not really care for them when we saw Megadeth.
Yeah, they were all right. I mean,
But Iron Maiden did blow them off the stage.
They were no Iron Maiden.
And, I listened to Megadeth way more than Iron Maiden, but objectively, like, they crushed him. It wasn't fair, unfortunately.
Who was the headliner?
Iron Maiden was headlining, Megadeth was opening.
That's bullshit. That's bullshit.
Megadeth always gets the short end of the stick. I don't know how they make that decision, but Megadeth has more album sales.
Yeah.
Than Maiden?
Yes.
Yeah, they do.
I am pretty sure that's incorrect. Like overall worldwide, I'm pretty sure that's incorrect.
I don't think so, man.
Well, because Megadeth only has like a couple platinum albums. It's like a string of like 5 or 6. And I think Maiden is like pretty consistently platinum and multi-platinum.
I checked this the other day. It could have been old stats.
But hey, you know who also sold more than Megadeth? Kiss.
I'm sure they have. Yeah, if it was Megadeth and Kiss, then I would assume that Megadeth would not headline.
You know who sold more than Kiss though? The Doors.
Actually, I don't think they did because the Kiss is number 1 in gold albums for any band from the United States.
Gold's cheap.
No, but they've got 85 million, I believe, is the sales.
Beatles. Led Zeppelin.
The Eagles.
Michael Jackson.
So Wikipedia says Iron Maiden have sold 100 million albums worldwide. Megadeth have sold 38.
Oh, whoa. Okay.
What the fuck, Joe?
Then wherever I got that information was very wrong.
I defended you.
It was very wrong. Very wrong information.
Can't argue with Wikipedia.
Holy shit. Was fucking the Number of the Beast song really that big of a hit?
Well, the thing is, Iron Maiden is, I mean, they're honestly probably the biggest rock band in the world right now, rock metal, in terms of just draw and sales. Like there are bands I like better, but they are probably the biggest in the world.
Biggest in terms of draw and sales and onstage mascot.
And also awesome dudes throwing their guitar 10 feet in the air and pissing off the diehards.
Yes, I don't think it's about that as much as you guys do. I think it's about the industry and how people obtain music more than anything.
Well, I don't think it's based on necessarily the quality. I don't think that necessarily Maiden is a better band than Megadeth.
I do.
Well, you could argue that. And I think the first two Maiden albums are better than the Megadeth catalog, but just those two. So maybe like those two Maiden albums are better than every Megadeth album, but when you stack the catalog versus catalog, I side Megadeth. But tangents.
Yeah, no, it's about like accessibility. I mean, of course the Beatles are going to have more album sales because you couldn't just download one song. You had to buy the whole album. Like,
right.
Well, I mean, they have singles.
Yeah, the Beatles had a lot of singles.
Yeah. It's almost like comparing, I don't know, punk rock to thrash. It's just impossible. It's impossible.
I mean, actually, it's pretty possible because there's a lot of stylistic similarities. But anyway, next up on the list is Five Magics.
Yeah, it's unfair. Oh, the next is Five Magics, huh?
Yeah, you guys are wrong,
Yeah,
turns
that's
out.
what I thought.
All right, so Steve, you go first since you're a nerd.
So, shut up. So, sorry, what was that?
Nothing. I'm singing Five Magics.
Oh, okay. So this song basically derailed listening to the rest of the album for me because when it got to this one, I promptly went over to Rap Genius and started correcting the annotations because I've read that book several times. It's pretty great, other than some of the problematic 80s fantasy tropes that, are still problematic fantasy tropes. But it is a great book, and thus it is a great song.
What?
Five Magics is based on a book.
It's called Master of the Five Magics. It's about a guy who has to learn all five branches of magic to defeat the king of the demons and impress the queen. Although, in the end, he realizes he doesn't actually want to marry the queen, and instead he marries some other girl who's basically there just to be his love interest at the last minute. And the queen marries the barbarian prince. And it's great. It's hard fantasy, is what it's often called.
So
and that's why you like this song.
Steve is really into old school fantasy novels. That's one of his big wheelhouses. So one of the funny things about Megadeth for me is how very serious Dave Mustaine is and says, I sing about things that matter, unlike those glam bands. Like, dude, you sing about a fantasy book you read in high school, you fucking nerd. To be fair, is something we also do, and I think is fine. But to act like so superior with your lyrical content, like, no, it's a goofy song about a high fantasy book.
The book was only 10 years old when this album came out.
Yeah, but
so it might not have even been in high school. He probably read it like while on tour with Metallica.
Yeah, I was on the bus. He's like, "Oh, this is good." and then you know what else happened?
What?
The Metallica members are like, "That book sucks, Dave."
He's just sitting in the back of the tour bus like, "Yeah, choke that demon prince."
Fuck you, Lars. This is a classic. I'm gonna get you kicked out of the band.
That did not end well for me.
Fuck.
At least I still have my books.
The one thing I'll say about this song is it sounds like a Diamond Head song. I like Diamond Head, so I thought it was cool. The end.
Well, my thing is the riff is almost the next song, Tornado of Souls. It's just not as good.
No. Yeah.
I dig it though. I dig Five Magics. It's a little corny, but after a few listens, I
It is pretty cheesy how he got the lyrics wrong.
I kind of still dig it.
I put Five Magics at the bottom, below Dawn Patrol. And it's because it's the chorus. It's the master. Yeah, I think every time I hear that, I hear master of puppets. Like, this is my master of puppets, and it's shit. I don't know. I don't. Every other part of the song I like. I do, but the chorus I think is just kind of awful. And it reminds me of the magic man. Yeah, I don't like that. But I like the breakdown, the give me alchemy, give me that part's fun, and the guitar is fun.
Give me alchemy. Yeah, that part's sweet.
That's awesome. But then it breaks into that chorus, and it's too campy. I don't think it's very fun. And it's like kind of what you guys mentioned. Like it's almost like in the middle of like serious and goofy, and it doesn't really work. Like Dawn Patrol the whole time is like ridiculous, you know. So I dig that. And I dig the bass in there, but in this one, it almost is kind of like it's like on the Tool album, Anima or whatever, where they've got the hooker with the penis song. But right for it is that intermission song where it's like the same exact beat, you know, but it's the like bleeping sounds. It's kind of like that to Tornado of Souls. It's almost like an introduction, but this one I don't like, and I love intermission on that Tool album. But this, yeah, I don't like the breakdown. It just feels wrong to me. It's still an all right song, I guess, but I do think it is the low point of the album, in my opinion, because it doesn't work for me. Like the chorus doesn't work at all. I don't know. I don't
this one you actually you don't actually like the song that much.
Not really.
Okay.
It's all right. I mean,
how dare you?
But it's
You know what? I will say this because, you know, this is the first album with Marty Friedman, who is, you know, an amazing, amazing technical player. And I think Dave wanted to push the band in a slightly proggier direction. So the songs aren't as conventional verse chorus as a lot of other Megadeth stuff. And so I think he kind of went on an anti-hook kick on this album, where it's like, we don't want to be poppy. So I think they intentionally made it less able to sing along to it. But the trick is vocal hooks are a good thing. And I think this album overall has weaker choruses than a lot of their other stuff. And so even though while I like this song and I like the vibe of it, 'cause I'm like, yeah, this sounds like Diamond Head. But Diamond Head with a chorus that isn't really catchy, and this is definitely the filler track on that Diamond Head album, and I probably skip it when I listen to the CD.
So you're saying that when Dave Mustaine decided he wanted to go in a prog direction, what that meant was he wrote songs that just summarized the plots of books that he likes.
Yes.
So the thing that I make fun of Rush for doing, and
yes.
In fact did an entire album of, is also what he's doing. All right, I identify more and more with Dave Mustaine.
You identify, through this podcast, you've identified more and more Dave Mustaine and Gene Simmons.
Right?
I'm sorry for making you do this podcast.
He's angry. He speaks entirely through his nose. He writes prog songs based on dumb fantasy novels. The man's, it's like looking into a mirror. Hello, me. It's me again.
All right, MVP of the podcast goes to Kaleb.
Hello, Gene. Oh, fuck.
Any other thoughts on Five Magics?
I dig the guitar work, but that's the whole album.
Yeah,
that's like, I like this album for the guitar work on this song as well.
Well, you know what? You were talking about how it's not that hooky, and I agree. Five Magics especially is not that hooky of a song, and the chorus.
I think, yeah,
you're probably right.
Is though.
But I actually do sing along loudly to this album all the way through, almost.
Even this song, yeah,
including this song. Yeah. So the embarrassing Joe on the very long freeway drives.
At least it's not on the train anymore.
He's going, I'm Master Five Magics. I do that. So, you know.
Sounds like a really painful way to sing it.
Oh, dude, I got that.
Feels great.
That's how I got to sing along with Megadeth. I don't sing with my voice.
You get to work. You're like, could somebody else do that presentation? I've lost my voice somehow.
Yeah, singing Megadeth for more like an album and a half worth of Megadeth singing pretty much destroys your voice for the rest of the day.
Yeah, it does. It really does.
I'm sure it's healthy for my vocal cords, but
that might be how they decide that they're not the headliners when they travel with bands like Iron Maiden. Like, no, man, I can't sing like that for 2 hours. I can do 45 minutes.
Or I can growl.
They played decently last time for a little while. You know what? When I saw them with Slayer and Anthrax, that other little band that taught,
no one gives a shit.
That's the guy from VH1.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? I like a couple Anthrax songs. You know, I think they're fine. I like them better than Slayer, to be honest.
No, God, no.
And I like them better than Metallica.
Oh,
That's-
get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck
Get out of your own show. Get out of your own show right now.
Here's the trick. I can't. There's no Metallica songs I go to like on a playlist or get in the mood to listen to. There's like a couple Anthrax songs, not many, but still that's more than zero.
I think you're an insane person.
Yeah.
I think
I was siding with you over the bassist for about 5 minutes there. I don't know what to do. I don't know whose side to be on.
I feel so betrayed, Greg.
Actually, you know what? I take that back. The no life till leather demo was really good. So I think that's still sinking into me. So that'll probably be playlist. That'll be playlist. So actually, yeah. So I officially like, now thinking about it in terms of number of songs, I like Metallica more than Anthrax. Because that's like a 10-song demo, and there's like 3 Anthrax songs I like. So there you go. Metallica, ranking above Anthrax.
In that sense, I like Megadeth more than Metallica too, because they have like 40 more songs. I like more of their songs because they have a massive catalog in comparison.
And really, there's only 2 Slayer songs I like. One is completely ironically, and one is sincerely liking it. Die by the Sword, good. God Hates Us All, funny.
You don't like a Dead Skin Mask? Are you kidding me?
I don't. Nope. None of their other songs do it for me.
Dude, Megadeth played all of this album, Rest in Peace, and Slayer played all of Seasons in the Abyss, and it was fucking awesome. And then they played a bunch of other shit.
I like Pop Hooks.
And the moshing was insanity. The guy broke his collarbone right in front of me.
That's pretty sick.
Yeah, it was disgusting.
Sure.
Yeah, Slayer really brings it out.
But Anthrax was...
Anthrax, I got there late, and I was like, wait, who is this again? It's like, oh, yeah, it's those other guys. Yeah, cry for the Indians. God. That's like one of the 2 that I actually am okay with, but still.
Just going to make fun of the song you hate.
Yeah.
Or you like. Kind
Yeah,
of.
that's the problem, is it's not even that good.
It's a madhouse.
That one's fun. But.
They had the new single that Drew was obsessed with. I can't remember the name of the song. That's actually a really good song. But like Anthrax only became good on their last album, in my opinion.
Yeah, they're kind of rough.
I'm sorry, Greg. We cannot agree at all.
I don't really care about Anthrax. There's like, hey, that's an okay song, and that's it. So like, hey, Only is all right. It's fine, I guess. You know, all right. Caught in the Mosh is okay.
One day I heard there was a big 4, and I was like, okay, fuck yeah, Metallica, fuck yeah, Megadeth, yeah, I like Slayer. And then I tried out this band called Anthrax, and was like, what the fuck? How is this in the same category? What the hell is it?
Well, look, someone has to come in last place on the ranking.
That's right, yeah.
And that's
somebody has to open for that tour.
Someone has to open for those bands, exactly.
We're called Anthrax. We're the local opener. Yes, we're touring with everyone.
You know what the thing is?
They're not paying us.
The only ones that would open over Slayer would be Metallica. Megadeth doesn't open. Slayer does. It's because they're bigger on the scene. Because they didn't sell out with a Risk album.
All right, what's the next song?
Next song is named after a Final Fantasy character, or rather, a Final Fantasy character was named after this song. We have Lucretia next on the list.
That's true.
That's tying it back to your show. Hey, check out UFF.
Yeah, check out the Ultima Final Fantasy, the Ultimate Final Fantasy podcast, where we had an episode called Final Fantalica, because Metallica is the greatest band ever. Anthrax.
Yeah, that's
Best
why
music
we did
ever.
That's right.
All right, I'm gonna put it out there. I like this more than most of Metallica's catalog.
So Lucrezia, it's an alright song. I have it as my number 6, so it's pretty close to the bottom. I think this is part of that like middle section of the album, like I said, where it's kind of like okay songs right before a really, really, really great song. Overall, I think this one is almost better than You know what? Wait, no, never mind. It is better than Five Magics by a lot. But it's, I don't know. It's still kind of like lukewarm. Still kind of lukewarm towards it. I listen to it and I enjoy the guitar work in it a lot. But I think it's still lower on the album for the rest of these masterpiece songs. I think this is really the last song for me that I think is like pretty good, as opposed to like God level. There's like God. Joe had his rankings as perfection, great stuff, and I would put this one in the great stuff category, just like Joe did actually. It's good. It's pretty great, but it's not
stuff.
It's not as catchy. It's not as epic as some of the other pieces on the album.
Well, I mean, we were talking about United Abominations before, and like I listened to the first four tracks of that album, and I don't listen to the rest.
Yeah,
this album I will listen to all the way through, despite the fact that some of the songs are obviously in the great stuff category.
Yeah.
As opposed to perfection.
Some of these songs are merely amazing instead of the best.
Yeah, exactly.
I only get half mast as opposed to fully erect.
I fucking love the beginning, like guitar runs in Lucrezia is awesome, and then when he goes into the riff and like we go into the chug, I fucking love this song. I don't think it's as good as the songs that we're about to rank above it.
No.
But I think it's a fucking awesome piece of music. Really fun. Gets a little proggy, and I kind of like that direction for a second. But then it's got to go back into the. Come on, guys, make a remix of that, I guess.
So here,
how do you talk about music without just fucking going, this part?
The bit that goes beep, 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 beep.
it's mainly because we don't want to be taken off iTunes and YouTube because they're stingy.
It's not gonna catch that shit.
Yeah, I don't think Joe's truly capturing.
No. I'm saying Joe doing it is fine, but we've worked with some other podcasters who've had their stuff taken off. So like, let's just play on the conservative side of things.
See, I was hovering right over the Content ID button for that bit. I was convinced.
Yeah.
In immediate surroundings.
I have gotten blocked for one thing, and it was a really funny situation. But yeah.
What?
It was where we were doing a test stream to like test out the Twitch button on our website, and like I had Kill the King playing, and like it was that time where I paused it right at the end, and he said like King, and then like on the Twitch it was like King, and it like kept saying King, and then Joe's like, why the fuck does it keep saying King? And then like it says like King right after he says that again, but a little quieter. And then Joe's like a little squeak laugh, and then I heard Joe again like, why the fuck does it keep saying King? And it was like this endless loop, and it's just like King. And then by the end, it just turned into like sound hell, where it was like it was this wall of sound.
Yeah, it's sound going from one computer to another, and they kept looping.
Yeah, it was awful, but I was laughing my ass off at that shit because I was like, oh my god, it just keeps going.
King.
Yeah, what's fucking keep saying King? And then like just periodic like laughing over each other, like fuck. God. Yeah, so that got blocked, so I was never able to like re-listen to that again, which was unfortunate. From one word too, it was the only word, just the King and the guitar, like dang.
That's all it takes sometimes.
Okay, apparently, Dave's like, mine.
So here's what's great about this song. Imagining Dave Mustaine singing this in a Vincent Valentine cosplay. Fantastic. That's step one.
Because he's definitely the guy who both loves glam and loves cosplay.
Right.
As we know.
As we know, that is what he is.
Big cosplayer.
Big cosplayer.
I mean, he's very serious about things, so he costs works.
But
cosplaying is business, and business is good.
Here's I enjoy a lot of Dave's earlier, more occult lyrics. As someone who's dabbled a little bit in that stuff, hearing Dave's take on it is always super hilarious for me. So it's always a bundle of joy when he digs into the creepy spiritual stuff. But as far as the song goes, to me it feels like two different songs. And this is, sort of unfortunate for me, where I really like the two separate sections, the intro and the rest of the song. And the intro to me feels like you could have made an entire song based around that intro riff, and you could have sung stuff over it. Would have sounded very cool. But the second half is also really cool and really awesome. And so I do like the song a lot. But I kind of wish they took that intro riff and just made a whole song around it.
The Tornado Souls riff is similar.
Yeah,
once again,
kinda,
there's three songs on here that have very similar riffs openers.
But what I'm saying is, like, keep at that sort of like slower tempo, make it a little bit more melodic. You know, I'm a guy who likes melodies. I'm like, hey, do the melodic thing. I think it would have served as a nice change of pace. Would have made the album more dynamically interesting, more accessible. But as it stands, I still think this is a great song. So, I mean, I still love it. It's just, I think that hook is so good that they could have done more with it. How about you, Steve?
I thought this one had a good groove to it. The only part of the song that I really wasn't into is the solo was a little bit self-indulgent for my taste. Sort of like kept on going on, but like, look how many notes I can play.
It's thrash metal, dude.
That's all thrash metal.
Yeah.
Self-indulgence is the game.
You're just mad because you can't play it. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, not particularly.
I guess
See, if I want to listen to self-indulgent music, then I'd listen to like some glam.
What about mindless self-indulgence?
I would also listen to some mindless self-indulgence.
If you
Of course,
wanted.
you also can't sing along with them.
That's true. Yeah.
You know, I think there's a time and place for everything musically, and there's a time and place where you just need to shred and go insane, and there's a time and place where you got to hold back and play something more melodic.
I mean, there probably isn't really a time and place where you should be
Think
shouting
that-
as many slurs as little Jimmy Urine does.
Okay, well, not time and place for most musical things. Yeah, not that, Steve. But all right, I think we're done talking about Lucretia, so I'm going to move on to the next song on the list.
I hit the wrong button.
Whoa.
All right, I'm just going to move since your drops are not working. Take No Prisoners, next on the list.
I knew it as I hit it. It was like, is it this one? No.
Take No Prisoners is one of the funnest songs to sing out loud, windows rolled down so that everybody else can be annoyed. Just fucking blasting that shit.
Great bass play in this one too.
God, I love that riff too. That dan 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 dan
it's sick.
It's
big.
I really hated the bass tone in this one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the bass, like, it might have had something to do with the fact that I was listening to the remaster, because that was what YouTube had. But like, just,
Remaster is amazing.
oh yeah, it's just like the bass tone on this, other than that run in the middle, was awful.
I don't know. I enjoyed the bass tone of this, and I think, you know, this is one of the glammier songs on the album.
You just say that because gang choruses.
Yeah, I do say that because gang choruses are incredibly glam, and it's a fun tune. It's energetic, good riffs.
It's a great headbanger, man.
Are we on number 5? Is that what we're at?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to keep that.
The halfway point.
How wrong you people are.
I fucking dig this
I mean,
song.
I've been saying mostly positive
So-
things. I feel like I'm not that wrong.
No, I know you're not that. You're wrong, but not that wrong.
Right.
You're that wrong, and it's not you.
Only nominally wrong.
For now.
For now.
and it'll be you soon. You guys it's a competition. See who can make us the most mad.
Competition to
It's
see
a
who
fucking
can be
fight.
the wrongest.
It's a fight. I'm telling you. But yeah,
I mean, if I ever really need to, you know, like, be the person who's absolutely making everyone wrong, making everyone mad, I just spam the tightest button. Ruin everyone's night.
fucking game.
How have you not used that drop yet this episode?
The one time it was really appropriate, I was laughing too hard. Nope, wrong one.
God,
Great comic timing.
make it stop. All right.
So take no prisoners.
Take No Prisoners, fucking awesome. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
That riff is amazing. I will take no other answers.
Yeah, this is my 4th place song on this album. This is where it's like tits out. Like, this is fucking awesome. This is where the album turns into you know what, actually no, the song that I rank below this is pretty awesome too. And you guys Joe's gonna hate me for the one I put below it, but this is a great fucking song. I love it. I love the lyrical content. I love the message of it all. I enjoy how it's like, to me, this album is like the whole conceptual theme is nuclear war and like war as a whole, you know? and with some aliens mixed in.
And some medieval fantasy.
Yeah. Those
Nuclear
ones,
war, also like a wizard, and there's some aliens.
And a ghost that I saw when I was a kid.
Yeah. So fuck those ones. Except for the nuclear or the alien one is the best. But
maybe the aliens have nukes.
Nuclear alien wizard ghosts.
That's why they glow.
But this one's really about, to me, it feels like it's really about World War II, which is like the beginning of like the atomic age. We dropped the atom bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki is that the other one, and we started this new style of war, and it created these horrible things that happen, and that's really what this song is about. So honestly, thematically, if I were to put this album together, I would probably put this one as the first song. Just based on like the timeline chronologically. Dave doesn't fucking care about chronological order at all.
I mean, chronological order would put 5 magics first, right?
Technically, yeah.
Unless the radiation is what makes magic possible.
No. Unless you believe.
Dude, you just wrote a great book right there.
I mean, that is the Sword series by Saberhagen.
Oh, nice.
It is 15 books, so
that's okay. I don't think I would have read it, but it's like Fallout being before the Elder Scrolls, right? That's what this is. That's the fucking we're in the Fallout age. But I really love the lyrical content of this song. I love how like heavy it is. I love the solos. Everything is on point with Take No Prisoners, and it's big. It's a big song, and I love it. I love the chorus, like Take No Shit. It's a little bit ridiculous, but it's like fucking fun. And this is one. It's just nothing but fun.
It's a blast.
So it's my number 4 pick. So I'm only one off from the democracy we have going on here with the rankings. But I enjoyed it a lot, and I'm glad you guys at least dug it enough to keep it up here.
I could hear the quote marks on you saying democracy.
I mean, Steve is still a Canadian citizen at this point.
It's true. I'm not allowed to vote. Greg actually takes all my votes and throws them out immediately.
Yeah. So really, you're welcome for putting it up this high.
But I'm allowed to, I'm allowed to complain still. Freedom of speech.
True. You get that.
So, ready to move on to the next song, guys?
Yeah.
If you guys don't have anything to say, yeah.
Well, I mean, I already said my piece on this one. Nice, fast, glammy, because it has a gang chorus. I dig it.
Yep.
Next up on the list,
Steve never talks. Just Steve never talks. I don't know what it is.
He doesn't really.
I crack
some
jokes.
Insulting bullshit.
Steve, told me he didn't really like this album.
I did not much care for this album.
Here's what it is. It's an odometer, and on one side is Steve, and on one side is Greg. And when it gets too much on the Greg's making you mad, Steve has to come in and just like fucking punch you right in the balls. Just like James Hetfield's a hack. What? He hasn't been able to sing for years. That one actually, I'd be like.
And James Hetfield sounds like Chad Kroeger.
I don't know who Chad Kroeger is.
The singer for Nickelback.
Oh my God!
Like think about it for a sec.
I don't think Nickelback's singer is a bad singer, so I don't think that's really an insult.
No, it's not an insult. Just saying, like tonally, they're very similar. Not saying anything about like the quality of the voice. Just saying like,
that's the difference between the two, though, is one of them. See, Greg likes to disagree and be peaceful about it. But the bassist guy, man, he goes crazy.
You never know what a bassist will do.
This is this, which is what we do, which is why it can't work.
I'm just the peacemaker. I'm just trying to bring everybody together.
He's like, look, it's just music, man. We're like, no, fuck you. That's not music.
Let's start an all-bassist band so we can fight all the time.
They even said it's just noise. They said you don't have to hit the notes. That's the point. Fuck that.
I never said you didn't have to hit the notes. I said they're hitting the right notes, and that's what matters.
Which are wrong.
Well, it's like there's a great saying in jazz music where they say there's no wrong notes, only better choices. And then I always troll them by playing a really shitty piano solo. On purpose.
Wrong notes, man. You definitely play some wrong notes.
Yeah, there are some like palm muted or like
See, the difference between punk music and jazz. In jazz, there's no wrong notes, only better choices. In punk, there's 3 notes.
It's very true.
And an illusion of choice, man.
Okay. What's our next song? What's number 4?
Rust in Peace, Polaris.
What?
Number 4? Are you fucking serious?
Okay, so I was going to be
You
mad.
said it just had to be in the top 4. You said if this isn't in the top 4, you'll be upset.
Didn't I
And really
say-
think about what else is remaining.
Oh, wait, you know what? That's okay. This is okay.
This is a very reasonable spot if you look at what's remaining on the list. Like, think in your head of
This is
what's
a
left.
perfect song.
Within my mind, I thought Holy Wars for a second, and I was like, okay, I was joking about trying to lowball it by like putting it at like the bottom, but it doesn't deserve number 4. Rust in Peace is a great song, though. I think it's amazing. I think it's incredible. It's my number 3.
I'm just
on this
scanning the
album.
numbers here, and it's like 7 points, 7 points, 8 points, 1 point.
Who put it at? Was it you, Steve? You little fuck.
Maybe.
No, it wasn't
It was
Steve.
Greg.
It was
Greg
me.
did it.
I
Damn
put
it,
this as my
Greg.
last place song on the album.
Fuck.
Are you
is
serious?
Wrong with you?
I only put
All
this.
right.
I only put a below 5 magic.
So here's the thing. When I put a song as a last place on this album, I still give it an A ranking. Like if I'm giving it a score in school, it's still an A. It's not bad. It's just
Look,
I like
man.
other stuff better in comparison. There's other things on the album that interest me more than this song.
Your bullshit worked before, but it is not working now. The whole like, it's still good. It's not working for this song. This song's amazing.
it's still good. It's just not as good as Dawn Patrol.
Fuck you.
So here's my thing. Like Dawn Patrol, I think the instrumentation and change of pace I enjoy. I like the riffs of Poison Was the Cure better. 5 Magics, I think I might like less musically, but I like the lyrical direction. I think that's fun.
Yeah, what's left?
Lucretia is, once again, I think just a great song. I told you I really like those parts to it. Take No Prisoners, I like the energy. It's the thing with Rust in Peace is I really like the second half of the song a lot, where they just start jamming out and going crazy. But the first half, the melodies aren't as strong as the other parts on the album, and it's not doing anything that's significantly interesting or different compared to the other stuff.
Oil of Olivier.
But I still like it a lot. I still jam to the song a lot. I still give it an A ranking. It's just when I compare it to everything else, I have to, put it at the bottom because I just like the other stuff more. Doesn't mean I don't like it.
I think you're an insane person.
I think you're just lying, Greg.
I'm not. I do like the song. I'm not lying.
You're just like, gotta load the votes.
Is so fucking ridiculously awesome. I don't know why you don't put Hey Jude above that other Beatles song that you'd mentioned.
I want to hold your
I
hand.
don't understand. Yes, I Want to Hold Your Hand is not better than Hey Jude.
I respectfully disagree. I think Hey Jude has more meaning, but in terms of just pure joy and excitement and energy,
I'm kind of with Greg on this one.
I'll take
Like,
Blackbird over that song. But Rust in Peace, Polaris. You got it. Okay, let's start with just the riffs. Just the riff. The complexity of the verse riff while he's doing his like little swing jazz thing is like that's like just that combination of his little swing jazz melody on top of like some brutal heavy metal stuff going on. It's amazing, and you're crazy.
And the breakdown,
I mean,
where it just chills and just comes back. Oh man,
I do think it's an amazing song. Like I just like the other stuff better. It's just the personal preference. I like the other stuff better. That's still an A.
there are 2 songs that are better than this one. I'll give you that. But this is just the song is bitchin'. I love it because like the idea of Polaris to me is like this. It's like this post-apocalyptic drone that's just Pokepotamus that's just dropping nukes. Those fucking Pokepotamuses. Let me tell you, they're bad Pokepotamus, bad animals. We need to get them away from us. They're bad. The bad Pokepotamus flying around the fucking sky, dropping nukes. It's awesome. Like the theme of it, it's really good. I love the guitar work. I love the
drums,
the lyrics. I love every bit of Polaris. This was the hard one, deciding between Polaris and the song I put at number 2, which I still like more, and then the song I put at number 1, which is impossible to not be the number 1 in my mind. It was. This is where it got really hard. I was like, Polaris is fucking sweet. And I when I revisited this album like years ago, I was like, oh, this part of the album's like okay. And then I got to Polaris and I was like, holy shit. Like, oh yeah, there's this one at the very end where it's like, fuck you, this song's awesome. Where the other ones before it were like, meh, you know, it's just this weird bass thing and then like some other stuff. But for a while, like after Tornado of Souls, I just didn't really listen to much of the album because it was just the okay
you only
shit.
had 2 tracks left.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But it's like this one, oh man, Polaris is just, it's awesome. There's a reason why the album is named after it.
I love the part where Dave talks instead of sings. You can hear the old demo where he used to sing over the verses, but there's the part where he's like, bomb shelters filled to the brim.
Yeah.
It's like the attitude in there, it's funny and it's goofy, but I fucking love it. I love every single note and piece of this song.
And and the lyrics of it, like the idea of like some sort of
love the lyrics too, yeah.
Some sort of device. It's basically a drone that was made by man that decides, you know, whether or not something needs to be blown up, and it kind of like brings that into the mix, like the whole idea of that shit, which that wasn't even an issue back then.
Love the clever like world leaders sell missiles cheap.
Yeah, it's like shitting on all that. Like I think it's great, man.
Yeah. Greg's,
I think it's
Greg's
awesome.
an insane person.
Well, here's what I will say. Me ranking it lower was personal preference, but I think if this song wasn't on a Megadeth Greatest Hits, it would feel like it was greatly missing. Like this is...
It wasn't, and this was a beautiful discovery.
Right,
Yeah.
but it's a
Fuck the Greatest Hits album.
But what I'm saying is it's still a great song. It's still essential listening for a Megadeth fan. And hey, Steve ranked this as his number 2 song. So Steve is now the face. I'm the heel. We've done a face heel switch. Steve, talk about this.
Well, let's just pivot straight back. You know what's really great about this song? It's a country song.
I spread disease like a dog.
I guess a little bit.
Like
Discharge my...
a lot of these lyrical constructs, like specifically the way he uses the position of power and subverts your expectations for what he's going to be talking about. Like compare, you know, Warheads Will All Rust in Peace to, you know, dig your car's keys into the side of his car before he cheats.
Yeah, you know, that and the triplets. I think the triplets really capture the what country is as well. In the beginning.
He wrote a poppy country song, and then threw some thrash guitars on it. It was like, let's do this, guys. Ding 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 ding.
The reason I love this song so much is because the melody gets in my head with the chorus.
Yeah.
And, you know, it is a little bit pop. I wouldn't call it like... I don't know, maybe country, but to me, I hear like... kind of like a swing jazzy sort of thing to it.
Yeah, those kind of go hand in hand. That's kind of the same why they sound like those two genres. Is that like style of it's like a folk dance or jazz.
There's like some syncopation in there.
And it's slower. That's what makes it weird. Because Dave is all about the syncopation, as we know.
Yeah,
but with that one, it's like a little bit more. Yeah, it's kind of more melodic and it transcends genres. You hear that, Greg? Transcends genres right here.
I mean, it's
reductive to call Megadeth thrash because they transcend thrash.
That's right. So I'm okay with you saying that Anthrax is better at thrash because Megadeth is everything.
Wait, what?
As this
including
moment.
Country.
Yes.
Wait, but I never said like Anthrax was better at anything than Megadeth.
Wait, no. I think you're right. Yeah, you said Metallica. I'm sorry. I thought you were more wrong than you were.
No, I'm only partially wrong for giving this A song, you know, in comparison to all these other A songs, you know, not as high of a ranking.
Yes, that's true. That's why.
Here's what I'll say. I think it's an A song, but I don't think it's an S rank song for me.
All right.
It's not super A rank. But next up, we have
nerds out there.
What?
Fuck. So that was number 3, right?
Yeah, that was number 3. But these next 3 songs, they're all S rank for me. So everything else is S rank from here on out.
He's got 3 more.
Oh, fuck, man. This better not be what I think it's going to be, but I think it will be.
Next up is the song I ranked as my number 1. Tornado of Souls, next on the list.
Okay, good. Yeah, that's where it belongs.
Tornado Souls is a seriously fun riff to play. By the way, it's a great riff. It's a great freaking song. I think perfect.
Our imitations of these songs are getting closer and closer to the Lemmings music.
That's all down picking, by the way. I cannot play it to speed.
So here's my thing about Tornado of Souls. I think this is actually the poppiest song on the album,
Really?
which is why I like it the best. I think in terms of like verse, chorus, pop structure, this is the one that has the most traditional song structure without as many weird turns. Great riff. Love the melodies. I think there's great hooks throughout. I think the solo is fantastic. Just for me, just everything about it works. This is the poppier side of Megadeth, and that's kind of what I dig. I enjoy when, it's verse, chorus, and very catchy and a good vocal melody.
See, I
with
thought
a
the vocal
really
melody
solid
was
riff.
terrible.
Oh man, no, I think
Like
Wow, I
he's
think
he's
he's
just
wrong on
like
this one.
beating the same note over and over and over for most of the vocal melody. Like there's very little movement on it.
but I think it works for the song. Once again, I don't need as much complexity in a vocal melody as long as that melody just strikes a chord in my soul. If it doesn't strike a chord in your soul on a visceral, emotional level, I understand that.
You need at least 2 notes for it to be a chord, Greg.
All right, I get what you're saying. Here's what I will say. This is potentially one of the more grating vocal performances from Dave Mustaine. So if you think his vocals are a little bit weird and off kilter, I think this is
Make that worse.
yeah. This is a more weird, off kilter vocal from him, but it's such a great song.
It's definitely a few more notes higher than he can do now,
Yeah, that's true.
as we heard with
This is the song when I
jump
think
this
of one
down.
that hurts my throat the most. I'll be honest. It's the one that it's high.
Yeah.
It's up there. That's probably why it's not very complex. Is just because it's so I don't know. He's
focused on singing.
I can only hit 1 note at this height.
That's right. And it's a great note, and it's a fantastic fucking
So
song.
two of
It's
you
the
guys,
best note. I'm just gonna hit it a lot.
who put it at number 1? Was it you two?
I put it at number 1.
I put it at third to last.
Yeah, Steve ranked it really low.
It's
Wow,
got
Steve.
the riff is good.
I put it as
If
fifth.
it weren't for the riff saving this, probably would have been right at the bottom.
I put it as 5th, and this is where the songs get. Actually, that's why I was like blowing "Take No Prisoners" earlier. I was like, this is where it gets amazing. Really, "Tornado of Souls" is where it gets like god tier, which I don't think is as good of a song as "Take No Prisoners."
How dare you?
Lyrically, it's not as catchy. It's not nearly as fun. It's really good, but it's the one on the album that I'm like, that's a really great song, but I don't pull the album out to listen to this song.
It's that hook.
This is the difference.
But now I'm safe in the eye of the tornado. That fucking part of this, it just brings me in, man.
And the solo
I'm
is
in.
insane in this song. It's sick.
The solo is awesome.
But there's another song on here that's solo gasm. So like, I don't listen to this for the solo. as
every
much.
riff in Tornado of Souls is great, though. I'm telling you,
It
man.
is good. It's a good song.
If you listen to the riffs in the behind the vocals, like dun 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 wah wah now wah wah now, it's just like
It's great. Yeah, this is where the album goes from really good to fantastic.
I
It's
wish
this
I
song.
knew more musical words so I could describe instead of having to.
So
I'm gonna go. Wee.
what I want to say about Tornado of Souls, so this is the only song on the album where there's zero disappointment from me. Where there's every song on the album I love, but there's a couple things where like, oh, I wish you had done this musical thing, or I wish you had repeated that part. So there's a lot of arrangement things I would have wanted changed. I have zero issues with the song whatsoever. Perfect.
All right, that's fair. Other guy.
I already said, got some good riffing, bad
Oh,
vocals.
that's right. Yeah, that's right. You didn't have enough to make me angry. I agree, though. It's not the best. Which this is where Joe and I have our big disagreement. Where I
think
don't.
it's a perfect song.
I don't think it's that great. And you put it above 2 songs that I think are clearly better than this song. That are better according to the panel. So fuck you, Joe.
Oh, we got Steve on here fucking with the numbers.
Fucking with
both
democracy.
doing it. They're both going crazy. All right.
Well,
You saw
see,
it.
here's what it is.
I didn't sabotage Rust in Peace.
Here's what this is.
Elmo.
So you guys are like the average American free market capitalists, like average Joes, pun
That's
intended. And then I'm the sophisticated, Trotsky, socialist from a foreign country who disagrees with you on a lot of core levels, but has interesting philosophical tendencies. And then Steve is like a anarchistic crust pump who's just burn the building, throw bottles at you.
So we like Steve more. Is that what you're trying to say?
I'm easier to put in prison.
Freedom over.
Well, you are Canadian.
That's true.
Technically, yeah.
Although Greg's the one who described himself as a foreigner here, so I don't know. It's pretty easy to deal with all of us.
Yeah, that's fair.
I just saw Foreigner a couple weeks ago. Them and Whitesnake.
That's a great band. Hey,
that is a great band.
I think we can all agree on that, right?
Can we all agree on Foreigner? Steve?
I'm going to be honest. Most of what I know about Foreigner comes from episodes of Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
And I'm going to be honest with Foreigner. I like them, but...
Steve, do you want me to show you?
Does it have anything to do, will your t-shirt stay on?
Are you talking about the Gene Simmons thing?
I think this is urgent, Steve. Urgent.
I understood that reference.
I'll say this. Foreigner has one of the worst lyrics of all time, where it completely takes me out of the song. You don't have to read my mind to know what I have in mind.
Yeah, that's a pretty bad rhyme.
That is terrible.
That's a great song, though.
It's a great song, but that is one of the worst lyrics I've ever heard in any genre of music.
Pantera
has
also
as awesome as they could be
of all time.
Pantera also started as a glam band.
You hear the words I say to you, or something like that.
My ears can hear what you say to me.
It's like yes.
The hook for Mouth of War, and it's like, yeah, no shit.
It sounds like Philip Anselmo. Sounds about right.
My ears can hear what you say.
It's like I can
me.
understand Sepultura having kind of simple lyrics, but they're Brazilian. Their English is their second or third language.
They have an excuse.
Yes, they do. Pantera doesn't. They're born in America.
Walk on home, boy.
They're like a redneck metal thrash band.
Yeah, that's exactly what they are.
That
Schweiss
really
way to
is.
describe Pantera.
Half of them are dead now too.
Okay.
It's kind of sad.
Yeah, I know that is sad.
Sepultura's excuse is that they learned English from Scorpion's lyrics.
Yeah, who also learned English to sing Scorpion lyrics.
Right?
So it's third-hand English.
Foreigner's awesome. I know every fucking word of every single single they've ever put out.
Yeah.
And,
only the singles.
That's one pretty much. Yeah.
I'll say this. They put on a really good show. Kelly Hansen is a very underrated frontman. He really impressed me.
Yeah, he is really good. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, good shit.
Fuck yeah, Foreigner. Next time we'll do the Foreigner ranking.
Yeah, no, I think next time we have to do Risk. That's what we need to do.
No.
I mean, I like Risk. Steve will actually be very positive on that episode, probably. These are catchy.
I mean, I rank probably Africa first, and then Australia second, and then South America.
Are those all Toto songs?
I think he's referencing the board game Risk.
Which continent do you take first?
I prefer Game of Thrones Risk and the North. It's the hardest, but you get a lot of points each round.
I win Risk almost every time, and the truth is, just whatever you have the most people on, take it over.
It's true,
pretty much. And don't drink. If you drink, you'll start getting crazy, and you'll lose.
Yeah.
You'll be like, I have Australia. I kind of want North America now. And then you'll get your ass kicked by everyone, because everyone wants North America.
Right. Everyone hates the guy who has Australia and tries to take North America.
They do.
That's the point of Australia, is the next thing you have to take is Asia. I'm sorry.
It is, yeah. It is. I know that now.
What's our number 2?
Holy Wars, The Punishment Due.
Yes!
This dude loves ellipses.
So...
Holy Wars is fucking awesome.
Is that how you pronounce the ellipses in various Megadeth contexts?
I've never actually heard it pronounced, but sure.
Holy Wars, The Punishment Due. Rust in Peace, Polaris. Peace sells, but who's dying? Buying.
So here's I want to sort of tie this into what I was saying about the last song, where I said that there's something that disappoints me about each song on this album. The thing is, this song has very distinct separate parts, and I think that first verse of the song is so good, and they never really repeat that first verse melody ever again. It just moves to a different part. which is also really good and really amazing. But really, I just wanted the song to be 8 minutes long. I wanted more of that first part because it was so good, but the second part was so good too. But great sense of groove, amazing riff. They just go right into it and just dominate you immediately. Awesome lyrics. And like I said, I know they went in a proggier direction and, more unconventional song structure because you have, a genius like Marty Friedman in the band. So you want to utilize this amazing guitar player you have and really step up your game. So I get that. I wish they had allowed the music a little bit more space to breathe, but it's still an A+ song. Well, not A+ S rank. It's so good. I just want more of it, so I just have to listen to it over and over again.
You wish this song was longer then?
Yes.
That's okay. All right. I can dig that. I can dig that as a dig on the best song out of Rust in Peace. The riff is amazing.
Yes.
I love the lyrics of the song. It's catchy to me.
It's catchy. It's very catchy.
And then when the song changes and goes into the second half of the song with that crazy guitar solo Spanish guitar thing that happens, and then it goes into the second part of the song, it's just as awesome as the first part. I fucking love it. I think it's great. Sure, yeah, one more verse. There's another Megadeth song that there's two other Megadeth songs I have the same complaint that Greg just said. And off of two different Megadeth records. So I know that he definitely likes to not. I think he just likes when he writes songs, he just like moves on. When he like writes one part and he's like, okay, now the next part.
No, Marty, we're done with that. We're going to this now, Marty.
No, there's no coda. There's no returning. Sometimes he does that, and sometimes it's frustrating because I'm like, I love the melody so much, I just want one more.
Yeah.
I just want one more.
That's Friedman, and Dave's like, no, Marty, no. Metallica would put one more in there.
I've never had that complaint on this song, but I have had complaints on other songs like that before. So or that Passengers song by Deftones.
Yeah, it needs one more chorus.
It needs one more chorus so bad.
Because the best part about Deftones is Tool. That's the truth. That's the sad fucking truth. Best Deftones song is really just a Tool song.
That's right.
It's probably more a Perfect Circle.
It's
but
a
still.
Tool song without a third fucking chorus.
Yes.
It just stops. It just stops.
It does.
Why does it stop?
I don't know.
All right.
It's perfect.
Holy War is an amazing, perfect song.
Yeah, Holy Wars. This is the one where I was like, is this better? Is this the best song on this album? And it's even harder than bringing in fucking Rust in Peace. Like this one, I think there was a moment where I was like, okay, is Rust in Peace better than Holy Wars? And then I listened to Holy Wars again, and I was like, absolutely not. But Rust in Peace is still really awesome. But Holy Wars it's just so good. It's got the breakdown. It's got the second half of the song, like you guys said. Like the beginning is so fucking big, and Megadeth always does this. Sometimes they do it in like track 9 or like 10. They have like an intro song where it's like this riff, like face melt shit going on, and then they get into the album. This one, the album just starts with the song that does that in the beginning, and then the second half of the song happens, and it's sort of that way. Their very first album has a really great one. I can't remember what the name of the song is, but you know what I'm talking about, Joe, where they intro the album with like this cool, like just fucking pure guitar, awesome like shit, and then they like start off with the next song, and it's got lyrics and all that.
Endgame.
Yeah, Endgame does it. A bunch of them do it, and I kind of feel like the first half of this song is that because it's just super fast. It just kicks it off like hot and heavy.
That's how you start an album, right there.
It really fucking is. And it honestly, thematically, it works within the album, other than the fucking fantasy song and the alien song. But it works really well because it sets up the whole like, one of the most war-torn areas of the world is the Middle East, and that's kind of what this song is about. And it sets up the whole like idea of like the fighting and shit, like a lot of it starting over there, and like how they have the holy wars and they have like the crazy problems and us going over there and all that shit. It's all there. I love the lyrics. I love the guitar work in the song. Marty Friedman's little like Middle Eastern guitar solo during the middle of the transition is fucking awesome. It's not in the demo version. I know one of you said they listened to the remastered. They have like the demo tracks. I think it was before they got Friedman. And they did the demo for it, and they didn't have that little part in it. It was almost like it was like missing one of the beautiful portions of the song. So I just fucking love that part. I think it's very iconic. It kind of stands out, and it's a perfect place to put something random like that, in like during a transition into the second half of the song. And I gotta disagree. I love both halves of the song. I guess it would be better if it was longer. It would at least be as good. Just more.
I'll take a whole album with this.
More of the awesomeness. But Holy Wars: The Punishment Due is fucking sweet, and it is my number 2 pick for Rust in Peace.
I think lyrically, this is one of the Megadeth songs I can take completely seriously. There's a lot of them where I'm just like, yeah, I'm having fun, but I'm also kind of laughing. This one completely works for me. Brilliant lyrics. The Middle Eastern guitar part felt a little bit Spinal Tap-ish the first time I heard it, but I think it works, and I think it's very awesome. But as you guys are, in very positive spirits and enjoying talking about this song, let's bring it over to Steve, who ranked this second from the bottom.
I agree with you guys that the breakdown is pretty good. This song was just, you know how Greg was like, I need more of this song? I need way less of this song.
Better watch your mail, Steve. Better watch your mail. There's going to be some white powder coming your way.
We're not talking about Anthrax. We're talking about Megadeth.
No more Anthrax talk.
No more Anthrax.
No more Anthrax.
You got to send him Megadeth. With
How are you going to kill me 1,000 times? That doesn't even make sense. But yeah, like just the song really kind of dragged to me, especially the intro. Just a lot of things that was just like, let's keep doing this thing for a while. This thing that's not that interesting.
That intro is great. The Lost in Vegas guys described it perfectly, where there's like no foreplay, just boom, hit you with aggression right away, and just the groove it locks into, that burn it, like that groove is so good. Like
triplets are sick.
Just lock it. Like, Megadeth has such a good sense of groove, and this song exemplifies it very well.
And
also the music video is super...
I'm done talking about this crappy song.
Hey, I wasn't done. I was going to say the music video...
I'm done talking about this crappy song.
Damn it, Steve.
Oh.
The music video is ridiculous, just all those dudes sweaty and shirtless. Love it.
Oh, I will recommend Rust in Peace on Times 4 Speed, though. It's a seizure waiting to happen. Or not Rust in Peace, Peace Cells. It's awesome.
All right. Well, before we get to the number 1 song, let's go through this ranking again. From least best to best, My Creation, Dawn Patrol, Poison Was the Cure, Five Magics, Lucretia, Take No Prisoners, Rust in Peace, Polaris, Tornado of Souls,
Polaris,
Holy Wars, The Punishment Due, and the best song on the album, according to this illustrious panel, Hangar 18.
Fuck yeah, it is.
Space Alien.
Kaleb wins the podcast.
Fucking best song they've ever made, right there, Hangar 18. We're talking minutes of fucking guitar battle at the final end of the song. The lyrical content, minimal, awesome, alien, sure, whatever. Government secrets, we all know they exist. Fine, acceptable. But the guitar battles at the end, fucking awesome. They do their thing, they bitch about the government, then they go into like 5 minutes of just Friedman destroying Mustaine in this guitar battle, and they're both great. I love both of their guitar solos. They're very different, but they both fit. And like the one thing I would complain about with Hangar 18 is that I do want more of it, but there's so much to be had that it's like I'm just greedy, This is the song that I got into Megadeth with. This is like the one where I was like, it's all right. Their songs are pretty good. I like Symphony of Destruction a lot. I had heard that one before many times. Trust was like the biggest radio hit forever. I heard that one on the radio constantly. But Hangar 18 was where I really decided that I was going to listen to this band. When I finally YouTubed, when YouTube finally suggested the song Hangar 18, I was like, fuck yes, this band is sweet. And that's when I went out and bought the CD. And of course, the rest of the CD is great too. But man, it's perfect. The only thing that I would say is like I don't think you could start the album out with Hangar 18. I think it's perfect to start it out with Holy Wars, and then to move into the ultimate Megadeth song, Hangar 18. Excellent solos, sweet chords in the beginning. Like, it's fast the entire time. The syncopation is like perfect, and I just love the solos in the song, man. They're so good.
You know, it's funny. They're
insane.
This song's not even like a heavy song.
No, it's not.
It's just like guitar.
It's just nothing but guitar. Yeah.
It's just guitar soloing basically on top of another, like one another.
Yeah,
sweet. Yeah,
it's epic, and it's so long.
They're
It's like,
creating chords out of multiple guitars. I fucking love it too. I love the complexity of all the little. You can listen to that song about 1 million times and just like find new little things within it, within the instruments, and it's just amazing. I totally agree. It's a great song. Definitely my top 3.
is it though? Didn't you put it at number 4?
Oh, did I put it at number 4?
You did, you bastard.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Number 4. It's still in my perfection list.
I know.
Yeah.
That's why I can't get mad.
Well, Steve and I actually ranked it higher than Joe. So, Joe, you're wrong about this. We love this song.
Song's better than you think it is, Joe.
Okay, I think it's perfect. I think
Joe almost ruined it.
I did. I put a heading that says perfection, and it's in there. just let you
but
know.
I gave it more points, so clearly I like it better than you.
Oh, okay.
Turns out Joe's the enemy here.
How dare you?
I only pulled it down to number 1.
That's right. You ruined it all.
Right? It might have been number something less than 1.
Did you all do number 1 on this one?
No, my number 1 was Tornado of Souls.
Okay.
And this was actually my third place song. So the thing about
I also put it 3rd.
yeah, so
we barely like it more than you.
right. So
Steve, you really fucked up the order, didn't you? Didn't you, Steve?
By putting Hangar 18 as 3rd?
No, you put like Holy Wars way at the bottom. That's what the fuck happened.
And I put
here.
5 Magics way at the top.
Just remember, Schweiss. Every other time it would have been Hangar 18.
Yeah.
It would have been Holy Wars at the top there.
That's true.
yeah, I mean, I ranked Holy Wars above it. Comparing this to Holy Wars, I think Hangar 18 is actually overall a better written song in the sense of being a pop song, verse, chorus, good hooks. I think the transition between the first half and the second half of the song is a little bit clunky, but that second half is so badass that I give that a pass because it is just so fucking good. So I'm like, all right, that was a weird transition, but you know what? This is really cool. Gets a pass. But I like the aggression of Holy Wars better than Hangar 18, which is very melodic. It's a very melodic, catchy, kind of poppy song in a lot of ways. But I mean, it's still great. I thought it was odd when this was the Guitar Hero choice because I'm like, man, like everyone's talking about how great the song is and, Guitar Hero, which is, it's great. But I'm like, for me, there's better riffing on this very same album that you could have had in Guitar Hero.
But is there another song with 11 distinct solos?
No. So I mean, it makes sense. But for me, I think Holy Wars is just more epic riffing, but it's not, as much. It's not the back and forth solo thing. But I mean, yeah, Hangar 18, it's still S rank, still amazing. I still love it. But, I just like Holy Wars and Tornado of Souls better, personally.
I think this is just another perfect song. I don't know, choosing between them is like it's like choosing. I don't know. It's a hard choice at the moment. So
choosing between
like
Final Fantasy 6, 7, and 10.
It's like choosing between Hangar 18 and Holy Wars is your favorite Megadeth song. I mean, really, it's just fucking great. Great song. Schweiss is the winner.
Yeah, Schweiss wins.
Congratulations, you win a lifetime supply of that good feeling you get for having won this thing.
Yeah, I definitely lost last time we did one of these, though, from what I remember. But no, maybe not. I think we all might have won because we put like the iconic one at the top.
Yeah.
Shop theme.
Yeah.
Yep.
Auction house.
Clearly.
All right. Well, that is our ranking. Guys, how did you feel about the panel's overall ranking? Were you happy with it? Were you surprised by it?
You heard the anger in their voices throughout the entire episode, Greg.
Your explanations. Luckily, mine and Schweiss kind of pull up the list, and it makes more sense. But I would not want to see the ranking just between you and Steve. I'm pretty sure that would just make me just
absolutely disgusted.
so mad.
Well, the thing is I love
because
how
that would mean Rust in Peace would be on the fucking bottom.
Yeah. The crazy thing for me is I thought I was going to have to sabotage Holy Wars because I don't think it's the best. I think it's really close to being as awesome as Hangar 18.
But nope, Steve
I
did
didn't
it
even
for
have
you.
to do it. Yeah, Steve did it for me. Thanks, man. I didn't have to be guilty of sabotage for this excellent song to make sure my favorite one.
Yeah, it's a 2-point difference. If I'd put that somewhere in the middle, it would have been number one.
Yeah, it would have been easily.
Yeah,
Actually, just Greg and me by ourselves, we would have been pretty similar. Lucretia would have been a fair amount higher. Oh, wait, no, I'm looking at the wrong numbers.
I'm on the far left, you're on the far right.
Oh.
Yeah, where's that Rust in Peace? Polaris.
Steve ranked it second from the top.
Yeah, I liked that one. Greg was the one who sabotaged that one.
Yeah, so I sabotaged that one.
It was Tornado of Souls I was thinking of. Okay, so that would be somewhere in the middle, I'm assuming.
Yeah, so basically, actually, Tornado might win with this list. Actually, no, Hangar 18 would still win.
Really?
I think so, yeah. I'm looking at the math now.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hangar 18 would win.
Hangar 18 is a clear winner between just Greg and me.
If it were Joe and I, Holy Wars would win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if it was Joe, you, and myself, Holy Wars would have won. So really, thanks, Steve.
Like music?
I think we're a Rush cover band now because we sort of just went off tangent and started doing a whole bunch of math.
Yeah.
It's true.
We'll assume Neil Peart's out there doing drum solos.
All right, well, thanks for having us on.
Yeah, where can we find you on the internet, guys?
Geekdomentertainment.com.
Yep.
All their podcasts.
All the podcasts, yep. And, you can basically just look up Final Fantasy, Game of Thrones, Godzilla, and you'll find us somewhere in there.
Yeah, you can go to Twitter and you can follow me at UFF Podcast as well.
You can follow me at Joseph DeGolyer.
And we are Lipstick. You can find us on lipstickgeneration.com. You can follow me on Twitter if you want, Greg Troyan. Not, super active with it because I get annoyed by it. But yeah, follow me, I guess. Follow Steve, too, if you want. But yeah.
Follow Dave Mustaine at Dave Mustaine.
Do it, yeah.
Follow Dave Mustaine. Yeah, follow Dave Mustaine. If you haven't given Megadeth a chance, give them a chance. They're a great band. This might not be the best album for first-time, listeners of the band. Unless you're a really big old school metal guy, but still a classic.
Which if you were a big old school
and
metal
you haven't
guy,
listened to it,
then that's weird, and I don't know what kind of human you are.
Yeah. Countdown to Extinction is probably the gateway one, I would think, or Cryptic Writings maybe.
Yeah, Euthanasia I think would be good too. That era is good to introduce yourself.
Megadeth.
Really, you should start with Risk. That's the best one to start with.
No,
Crush
it's really
'em.
not.
Bottom up. Is that your
Yeah,
style?
just go with the worst one and work.
It
their
only
way
gets
up.
better, man. I swear.
It only gets better.
Every
Well,
Megadeth album you hear after that first one is the best Megadeth album you've ever heard.
Right.
All right.
That's a really good system, man.
I like it.
Start Metallica guys on Saint Anger.
Yeah.
Maybe work the way up.
Is it
Reps
weird
of
that I
Death
liked
Magnetic.
your Final Fantasy Tactics parody better than the actual song?
No.
Nope.
Not really. It's kind of a bad song.
All right, well, that's our show. Have a good one, folks. Peace.
Aw, chicken chaser.
Nick couldn't make it because, is a dad and has to not be loud and do podcasting while his kids are sleeping right next to him. So
I need some balls.